this almost feels like a roast, not a Hall of Fame. And for all the years I'm involved in politics, I've never won like that. All right, that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. This is the first time we put together a Hall of Fame. Ironically, it's not the first time we started putting it together. We started doing this a couple of years ago, and with great logistics, great partners between the Elks, Don Vega, Julio, we were able to do it. So with that being said, this night, it's not about me, it's not about one individual. It's about thanking those who paved the way for us, who made history, and hopefully make us better in this business. With that being said, the MC for tonight, Derek Kaufman.
Now you can cut the music. We don't have to wait for the good part tonight. Let's just get right into it. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome. My name is Derek Kaufman Moore, and I'm not only the SPW commissioner, but tonight I am honored to be your host. Tonight is a historic night for Showcase Pro Wrestling. So the first time ever, we gather not just to watch SPW, but to honor the legacy, the history, and the people who helped build it. Long before being the commissioner of this company, I was a student. A dreamer trying to find my footing in a business built on passion, sacrifice, and respect for those who came before all of us here tonight. From 2014 to 2017, I had the honor of stepping into an SPW ring as a competitor. And I learned firsthand what this place truly represents. It's a lot more than ropes, it's a lot more than turnbuckles, and it's so much more than live events. It's a proving ground, it's a classroom, and for many of us, it becomes family and friendships. This company exists today because of the vision and dedication of its founder and owner, the Blackheart, Chris Ireland. A man who didn't just build a wrestling promotion, but built it upon tradition. A tradition that traces back through his training to one of the most influential figures in all of professional wrestling, and someone who we honor here tonight, the legendary Killer Kowalski. For decades, Kowalski's legacy shaped professional wrestling, not just through championships and accolades, but through the generations of wrestlers he trained and inspired along the way. That lineage lives on here at Showcase Pro Wrestling. Every match, every training session, every young wrestler stepping into an SPW ring carries a piece of that legacy and torch forward. And tonight we celebrate that legacy in a way this company never has before. Because tonight we introduce the Showcase Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah!
You see, becoming a Hall of Famer, it's more than just a title. It's a promise. A promise that the contributions of the people that helped build this company and helped shape the independent wrestling scene here in New England as a whole will never be forgotten. Professional wrestling, especially on the independent level, is built by people who rarely ever seek the spotlight. They travel the miles, they set up the ring, and they train the next generations. They dedicate themselves to this craft because at the end of the day, they truly love this business. And tonight we honor 4 individuals whose impact on this company and on the sport deserves to be remembered for generations to come. Each of these names represents dedication. Each of these names represents a piece of history that brought Showcase Pro Wrestling to where it is today. And for me personally, tonight carries a very special meaning. As one of the inductees we celebrate this evening was not just part of this company's story, but part of my own journey. A coach and a mentor, and someone who helped shape my journey, not just in this business, but in entertainment as a whole. Moments like tonight remind us why professional wrestling matters. It's not just about what happens in the ring, it's about the people who give their lives to this sport outside of it. The ones who give their time, their knowledge, and their passion to make the industry stronger for those who come after them. That is what tonight is about. It's about honoring the past, celebrating the present, and making sure the future of Showcase Pro Wrestling continues to shine as brightly as the legacies we celebrate here tonight. Tonight we celebrate New England wrestling history. We celebrate the pioneers who helped build this company, and we celebrate also the fans who join us here, because without your support, none of this would be possible. Thank you for being here to witness history, and welcome to the first ever Showcase Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Our first inductee tonight is one of the most influential figures in the history of professional wrestling. For decades, this man was known around the world as one of wrestling's most feared competitors. A true heel, as some of us would say. Standing well over 6 feet tall, with an unmatched commanding presence, they became one of the most memorable villains of their era, competing across North America up and down for promotions including the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, as well as the National Wrestling Alliance. Throughout their career, they battled some of the biggest names in wrestling history, including legendary champion Bruno Sammartino, captivating audiences everywhere they went. But perhaps their greatest contribution to professional wrestling came after their in-ring career ended. Through his wrestling school, he trained generations of future stars who would go on to shape the wrestling industry for decades to come. That same lineage eventually led to the creation of Showcase Pro Wrestling, ensuring that this wrestler's influence would continue to live on forever in the heart of New England. Tonight we honor not only a legendary competitor, but a teacher, a mentor, and a man whose legacy continues to shape professional wrestling to this very day. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring one of the true icons of this industry and welcome our first presenter of the evening, G.A. West.
On Wednesday, October 13th, 1926, Edward Władysław Spolnik was born. In 1947, he was trained to become a professional wrestler by Lou Thesz. His first recorded match was May 6th, 1948, as the Polish Apollo. And then later on that year, November 29th, he was already wrestling the NWA champion for the title. He took on Orville Brown in a losing match. But what he's most famous for is October 15th, 1952, which was his match with Yukon Eric. And that is the match where he earned the nickname Killer Kowalski. It was in that match that he came off the top rope and landed on Yukon Eric's ear, literally popping it off and splurting blood into the crowd. And what happened afterwards? Walter Killer Kowalski laughed. And people said, this man is sick. He's a killer. That reputation would later be cemented in June of 1958 when he was wrestling Pat O'Connor with boxing great Jack Dempsey as a special guest referee. Walter kicked Dempsey right in the diaphragm and made Dempsey throw up. What happened? Walter laughed. And again, he was referred to as a killer. He would go on to do great things in this business. In the 60s and 70s, he wrestled for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, where he had great feuds with the world-famous Bruno Sammartino. He also feuded and teamed with Gorilla Monsoon, winning tag team titles with him. Later on, in 1976, he would go on a team with who would become his very first student, Big John Studd. And on May 11th, they would become the Worldwide Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions. Together, they were known as the Executioners. Walter Killer Kowalski has had many accomplishments in the professional wrestling industry. And I'm going to name not even half of them because we don't have all night. But he was an IWF Tag Team Champion with Johnny Valiant. He was a 13-time Montreal Athletic Commission World Heavyweight Champion. And for those that don't know, in Canadian wrestling, the Montreal Athletic Commission was the big promotion in Canada. So to be a 13-time world heavyweight champion in that promotion at that time was quite the feat. Later on, for championship wrestling in Florida, he was the NWA Southern Heavyweight Champion. And then he would go on to be the International Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion, as well as the NWA Pacific Coast Tag Team Champion with Gene Knitsky. He's done many, many things. And then in 1977, he would officially retire from the Worldwide Wrestling Federation and go on to do what he's probably most well known for, and as has been mentioned, what has shaped this industry. He would go on to open up a wrestling school and train the future of professional wrestling. He's had quite a number of names come through his school. Triple H, Chyna, Perry Saturn, John Kronus, Brittany Brown, Big John Studd, Damian Kane, Christopher Nowinski, Matt Bloom, April Hunter, Slick Wagner Brown, Bo Douglas, Chris Blackheart, Sergeant Muldoon, Jason Rumble, myself, and many others. His last match was in 1993 against Baron von Raschke in Livingston, New Jersey. Aside from that, he was also one of the first professional wrestlers to be on the Late Night Show with David Letterman back in 1982. Wow. The man has had quite the career and clearly has left quite the legacy. As I mentioned, I haven't even listed half of his accomplishments because we don't have the time to get into it. With that being said, though, he was in the Stampede Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 1995. He was in the WWF Hall of Fame class of 1996. He was in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame class of 1996. He was the PWI Tag Team of the Year with Big John Studd in 76. He was inducted into the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2024. He was inducted into the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2003. He was inducted into the National Polish American Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2007. And tonight, we honor him by inducting him into the first ever Showcase Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, class of 2024.
I was going to tell you that song.
Sorry about that, a little bit of a miscommunication. And so inducting him into the Hall of Fame tonight, or accepting him into the Hall of Fame tonight, we have his former student, Brittany Brown.
Look at this, everybody. Walt would be so proud. Thank you for choosing me to accept this present. Walter was like advantage to me. He was the best trainer ever. He really put us through the ropes, literally and figuratively, as you all know. And every one of you in the room here that was trained by Walter, or somebody that was trained by Walter, like Chris, Dawn, John, everybody here, you all deserve to be in the Hall of Fame with Walter, because a little bit of you is coming from this. So thank you so much. I'm so happy and honored to accept this for Walter. Thank you.
Thank you so much to GA and to Brittany for that. Woo! Our next inductee into the Showcase Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2026 represents the very foundation of New England professional wrestling excellence. This wrestler emerged in 1997 and quickly rose through the ranks of the regional circuit. Over the course of their career, they competed for numerous promotions, including NWA New England, Eastern Wrestling Alliance, and countless others across the region. But wherever they competed, one thing remained constant: championship success. This wrestler captured the NWA New England Heavyweight Championship 3 times, the NWA New England Junior Heavyweight Championship 5 times, and was a multiple-time New England Tag Team Championship and the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion 3 times, establishing himself as one of the most decorated wrestlers in all of New England independent wrestling history. Along the way, he shared the ring with legends and rising stars alike, including appearances connected to the World Wrestling Federation against the likes of D'Lo Brown, proving that talent developed here in New England could compete on the biggest stages in professional wrestling and hang as well. His skill and dedication and respect for the craft has earned him recognition throughout the wrestling community and solidified his place among the elite competitors of his generation. So tonight we celebrate that incredible career. So please help me in welcoming this Hall of Famers presenter for the evening, Joey Kilmartin.
Let me just lower this a little. He may not be my real father, but I did get my height from him, that's for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute incredible honor to stand here tonight and talk about a man who has become synonymous with not just Showcase Pro Wrestling, but New England wrestling as a whole. This man is the Boston bad boy himself, Jason Rumble. For those of you somehow have the misfortune of not knowing Jay or his incredible body of work he's built over the years, allow me to take a moment to fix that. Jay hails from the combat zone of Boston, Massachusetts, but was raised in the streets of Edgeworth, a small neighborhood in Malden, Massachusetts. Growing up, Jay was a multi-sport athlete who excelled in everything he did. The kind of guy who would compete in just about anything and hold his own. After several successful seasons playing semi-pro football, Jay made a decision that would change his life. And honestly, as a lot of you in this room know, it would change a lot of other people's lives too. He walked up the famous stairs of the legendary Killer Kowalski school, stairs that I'm sure Brittany and other inductees like Chris are very familiar with. Anyone who knows those stairs knows what it means. You walk up one person and you walk down a different. It was in the world of independent wrestling that Jay, who was known at the time as Jason Rage, met the man who would become his mentor, the late, great Tony Rumble. Tony at the time was running the NWA New England. Jay quickly became one of the cornerstones of the promotion. When Tony passed away unexpectedly in 1999, Jay just didn't carry on the legacy. He carried the torch. He stepped up and eventually took over the NWA New England, continuing his legacy and helping keep independent wrestling alive and strong in the region. Through his work with the NWA New England, Jay became a regular on the historic NWA anniversary shows, where he captured his first of 3 NWA Junior Heavyweight Championships at the 53rd edition, a moment cemented his place in the history of professional wrestling. But if you ask Jay, or anyone who truly knows his championships or accolades and accomplishments, were never an important part of his journey. The most important part was the people. Jay is a proud father of 2 incredible children. 3 if you count me, and I'm lucky enough to have him claim me. He's also a loving husband to his amazing wife, Nicole. And Nicole deserves a round of applause of her own, because anyone who's ever lived with somebody in this business knows that it is not easy. So let's take a moment to acknowledge his wife, please. Late nights, long drives, missed holidays, and more importantly, listen to him sit on the couch and talk about his beat up body, sometimes that he wouldn't accept. I'm going to sidebar from my speech to tell a story about Jay that I don't tell a lot of people. I remember one day after a 3-day stint of wrestling in all over New England, I couldn't tell you where, but on the first night he developed a cut on his stomach. That cut eventually became MRSA. And I have to tell you, he fought against everything that he had in him to accept that he was down and injured. And that was just part of the trials and tribulations, because as Jay has worked through the years in this business, he didn't want to accept defeat, and I don't think he even knew how. But Nicole stood by his side, as we all did, and he was back in the ring 3 weeks later, a bigger, stronger, and probably more intelligent man, because he was willing to accept that we're not invincible. And that was one thing that stood out as his student, was sometimes learning that you're not invincible. So to this day, I carry that lesson with me, and I thank you for teaching me that. And when I say Jay gave everything to this business, I mean everything. Jay didn't just wrestle. Jay lived this business. He trained, he promoted, he mentored, and he helped build careers. Many of the wrestlers you've seen come through Showcase Pro Wrestling or New England, or even some of the wrestlers you see on television weekly, they owe a lot to Jay, and they passed through Jay's hands at some point in time in their journey. Whether it be the start, the middle, taking a booking, or walking into his school for their very first experience in wrestling. Wrestling wasn't just a hobby for Jay, it was a calling. After years of running the WrestlePlex, which ironically located on the same street as Showcase Pro Wrestling, continues the legacy and runs their training school to this day, Jay moved on to Everett, Massachusetts, and continued to build something bigger and better. And that was the Bell Time Club in Everett, Massachusetts, where he served as the head trainer, helping shape the next generation of wrestlers. And that is where my story personally begins with Jay. Before I ever met him, I knew exactly who he was. I had watched him wrestle all over New England, and most notably as part of the tag team with the Crown Jewels with Darling Damon, who happens to be in attendance tonight. Everybody can say hello to Darling Damon. He's can't even bring that up, by the way. They were managed by the legendary Tony Ulysses. And to me, going to any CW shows at the Quincy Armory, that was a tag team filled with two people that were just quite possibly larger than life. Whether it be the antics they pulled or watching people just get truly riled up outside over the fact that they had just sprayed perfume in another man's face, I truly understood that they weren't just good wrestlers. They understood this business, and that meant how to pull emotion out of people. And that is the key to being a good wrestler. And I'll never forget being a 12-year-old at the Quincy Armory, and maybe I figured it out too young, but that's when I figured out that's what the key to a good wrestler is. And it was in that moment I knew Darling Damon and Jason Rumble were two of the best New England had to offer. Continuing on. He opened the Bell Time Club in 2010 in Everett, Massachusetts. That is where we met. And like I said, he was larger than life. Then one day, happenstance had it, as I was somebody who attended many New England shows, we crossed paths in a parking lot, and we spoke for probably 20 or 35 minutes. And nobody in this room is going to remember, but in 2010, some guy ran a show in Lowell, and I had no business helping him out, but for whatever reason, he let a 15-year-old me do so. And at that show, I met Jason Rumble. And I remember harassing him like there was no tomorrow to tell me everything he would about this business. And finally, he got sick of it, and he looked at me, a 15-year-old kid with a dream, probably too much confidence for somebody who had never taken a bump, but he said to me a phrase that eventually would change my life. After hours, he looked at me and said something. He said, "Do you have your license, kid?" I said, "I have my permit, 2 weeks away from getting it." And he gave me his address, not to the school he ran, but to his house. And he said, "Get your license and come and see me." And boy, was he shocked when I came a knocking 2 weeks later. But he knew then that he was going to teach me everything he could. But what he didn't know was as hard as he was going to get it to try to get me to give up, I wasn't going to do it. So license in hand, it was an adventure. It was the start of a ride in my life that I owe to Jason Rumble. And I know a lot of other people in New England can say that they owe the ride of their life. And when I say the ride of their life, I mean that this unique thing that we all seem to love in independent wrestling. From that moment on, my life was never the same. For me and for so many others, meeting Jay wasn't just about learning how to wrestle. It was about learning how to become a man. It was life-changing. Because Jay just didn't teach holds or footwork or how to cut a promo. Jay taught discipline, respect, work ethic. I can remember my first fist fight that I ever willingly engaged to was Jay got really mad at me at probably 17 or 18 years old, and I probably deserved it. And he finally said, "You know what, kid? We're squaring up and we're fighting." And to his shock, I went outside and he made a man out of me. And it was just another one of those lessons that Jay was happy to teach me, and I was happy to learn. Maybe not in the moment, but standing here at 31 years old today, I can tell you I'm glad I went outside for that ass kicking. For a kid who grew up watching wrestling and dreaming about being part of it, Jay was the first person that ever made me believe that dream was possible. Sorry.
This is a rest hold right here.
Sorry, yeah, let me just work this really quick. That's the real legacy of Jason Rumble, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just the matches, it's not just the titles, not the promotions he ran and the schools he helped build. It's the people. The wrestlers he trained, the lives he shaped, the family he built in this business. And tonight, it's only fitting that the man who gave so much to New England wrestling finally receives one of the highest honors an industry can offer. So Jay, from one of the many people whose lives you changed, thank you for the lessons, thank you for the opportunities, and thank you for believing in a kid who never meant to be believed in. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up and help me welcome the newest addition to the Showcase Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Boston Bad Boy, ladies and gentlemen, the B to the B to the B, Jason Rumble.
All right. Wow. How are you supposed to follow up when a guy almost made the Boston Bad Boy the Boston Sad Boy out there? I'll tell you, man. So, first and foremost, I want to thank so many people, but first off, without the belief in the Lord Jesus Christ looking down upon me, he's the person that gave me the talent to do what I do. So I want to give my praise and thanks to Jesus, man. For those of you that don't know, I became a believer a little bit over a year ago. It wasn't that I lost my belief, but I just frayed away from it. And everything I do is all in the Spirit of God himself. So, Chris, Hun, Dan by Dondi, I have to thank you guys, because about, I'd say a month or and a half, 2 months ago, we sat down, we did 2 cool podcasts, and that's probably how they came up with this idea to let me in the Hall of Fame. And man, I'm speechless. I can honestly say I'm speechless. My son, right there, JD, he's a 10-year-old kid. He loves the sport. And he goes, "Dad, what are you so nervous about? All you got to do is talk." It's tomorrow night you got to worry about. And I got so many stories that it isn't even funny. Mr. Kaufman, those were great words about me. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. That was awesome, Dylan. So, I grew up, I was born in 1972. I'm going to be 54 years old in a few months. And I haven't taken a bump since March of 2020. And I plan on going out tomorrow night with a bang. And I got two of my buddies from Kowalski School of Wrestling back there. I got to call out Damon again. If it wasn't for a guy like Damon, Doc Angelo, and Steve King, the day I walked up Walter Kowalski's stairs and became a wrestler, they seen something that was different, because the veterans just don't pull you aside and bring you into the gym and then get Walter's keys at night and go back and train. Like that took a lot. Because in this business, especially growing through it, it's a cutthroat business, young guys. It's a cutthroat business. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. And once you can smell a new dog is in the yard and that dog has fight, you don't really want to give that dog a bone, so to speak. They more than gave me a bone. They put me in there with the Archangels, myself and Slick Wagner Brown, some of the classic matches in the early days at NWA New England. And it's just awesome being able to share the ring with Damon. Not only that, getting to share the ring with him, I always wanted. So let's say hi to BRG out there. Thank you, BRG, for coming tonight. Yeah, buddy. And then many years later, it was great to be a foe of Damon's, but it was even more special to be a tag team partner of Damon's. And anybody who went to an NECW event, when they would hear the Crown Jewels music hit, we didn't even have to hit the runway. They just started going automatically, we looked at each other, we're like, we're over, man, we're over. And Tony Ulysses, getting to go down to the ring with Tony Ulysses. For those of you who don't know him, the Soul Man, brother. The original Soul Man. Boston, Bedlam from Boston wrestling on Channel 25 as a kid on Sundays. Getting to see Tony Ulysses and Grant, Walter wearing a mask, many others, Richard Byrne, Tony Rumble was on the program. I mean, and then Paul Richards and Sheldon Goldberg go, yeah, Tony's going to be, he sees something in you guys. He's going to be a manager. It was wicked cool because Tony was like, I just don't waste my time. I see some in you guys, and he rented out a beauty salon. And they had this person do facials for us and put cucumbers over our eyes. Facial weight and stuff like that. He took cool pics with Rolls Royce limousines and like what a dream it was, you know? I'm jumping 10, 15 years into the business. I finally got the day that not only did I get to be tag team partners with someone I looked up to, man. I looked up to you, Damon, and I thank you, man. Because like I wouldn't be here for people who wanted to do what I do. Really, man, so special. Like I said, this is a cutthroat business. I remember Steve King one time when I was working up in EWA up in Maine, and Walter sent me up there, him and Richard Byrne, working for Tony Atlas. And it was my second ever match. I debuted February 14th, 1997. It was myself and some dude, I believe his name was Phil, and he disappeared after the match. And it was against the Archangels, one of the best times I ever had in my life. Kowalski comes up, gives you a payday. It was a $100 bill. I was like, oh man. I was like, this is pretty cool. $100 back in 1997 takes you far away. You know, you're lucky if you get a large pizza and a bottle of Pepsi for $100 nowadays. You know? And wow. From there, that was my first match. So I go up, EWA J Maine. And that was the beginning of me being synonymous in the state of Maine as far as wrestling. I went up, I worked a show for Tony Atlas, and man, talk about bumpy roads. It was horrible. So I work another legend in this sport, a guy named Bert Santano, who is known as El Mascarado, who was also trained by Walter Killer Kowalski. And he's like, so Tony says, this is who you're gonna work, and I go out there with them, and it was just like, listen, you were taught as a wrestler, keep your ears open, do what the veteran tells you, and push comes to shove, we're having a great match, he puts me on a table, he goes from the inside of the ring to the outside of the ring and gives me a rolling tumble, swanton, breaks me through the table, and we go to the go home, everything's smooth as peanut butter. We get back to the backstage, he's like hugging me, he goes, oh brother, that match was so great, so good, so good. He's like, how long you been in this business? I was like, I started about a year and a half ago, and he's like, how many matches you had? I go, this is my first singles match. He exploded on me, like yelled at me. He's like, why would you let somebody do that to you? This, that, the other. And I'm like, it goes from, you did great, man, that was awesome, to, why would you let somebody do that to you? I can't believe you did that. Why would you let that happen? So, all right, you're told, listen to the veterans, lead them along. And I just happened to be that kid that I just felt safe with him, man. I was listening to what he wanted me to do, and I felt safe along the way. Because I didn't want to disappoint anybody. I didn't want to disappoint him in the ring. I wanted to be welcomed back to work for Tony Atlas. And after that, about 5 minutes later, in my best Tony Atlas voice, it's like, hey, boy, I likes that match. Is there any more of you like yous where yous come from? And I look at him and I go, there's plenty of us where I come from, Tony. And my right hand to God, that's the right one. He goes, you are now my assistant booker. And I was like, what? My second match. Here I am for like a legend. Tony, I'm his assistant booker. What's assistant? So I just took it as assistant, you know? So I started taking people up like Darling Damon, my other brother and from another mother, Stiff Mike King back there, who did a hell of a lot for me, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming out to me. I love you, brother. I love you both, man. Dave Fournier, one of the top men back there that did plenty for me when it came to running the promotion and doing things. I love you too, man. Thank you for taking your night out on a Friday. So to get back to that, so I stopped bringing people in from Kowalski School up to EWA, and me and Damon, if you don't know, Damon used to take the key to Kowalski's, and we go up there late at night. Brittany Brown, you're about to find out who killed all them chairs that Richard Burns wanted to beat us up for. We did that. We broke all them chairs. We were two guys that loved ECW wrestling, and we loved that like Tanaka spot where they bash with the chairs. So we would go over that at 11 o'clock at night. One time we had to hit the ground at like 11:30 because spotlight from the cop cars were looking up into the windows and stuff. So we're like, shh. Little did we know that was Richard going into his office too, and we crawled out. But that was some fun times. So Tony is like, we go out there, we do a match, a hardcore match, and we killed each other. We didn't care, we killed each other. It was so awesome. Like, here I am, so awesome to get cranked by a chair and thrown through tables. I loved it, but I loved it. That was like, so, it was cool, man. It was cool. And Tony, we come back, he's like, I just came up with the new division. It's called the Brawls Without Laws. And you guys are my boys for it. We're like, okay. So we go some far college, I think it was in New Hampshire or Maine, and I'm an idiot, but this dude still loves me for this day. We do the spot, and I have the chair the wrong way. I cranked him in the head with it, and with the U end like this, and it's supposed to be turned the other way. Yeah. I put like 12 stitches in the dude's head. I'm on the ground with him. I'm almost in tears. I'm like, dude, so I think he's gonna kill me. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get killed right now. My boy's gonna kill me. He's like, oh dude, this is great. Yeah. He was so happy that I split his head open. And his girlfriend, who's taping the thing, they go to the ER, and he had his girlfriend film the whole stitching operation. Yeah, that's what it's like to really have a tight friend in this business. It's not even a friend; he's a brother. Tonight I haven't seen Damon in years, and it's just like I was just hanging out with him at the house. For those of you who don't know, I used to love smoking weed. I gave that up. All right. There was the day from the year I was 12 years old that I didn't experience smoking weed on a daily basis. And many people in the locker rooms knew that too. But when I started to revert my life over to Jesus Christ, I have now been weed free for over 1 year and 4 months. And so there's two things. Tomorrow I'm going to wrestle for the first time in my life, not being stoned out of my mind, and legitimately being 210 pounds, when at the time when they would say I was 210, I was a $181 soaking wet. So, those matches were really good. Like, the way home, all he kept on doing, we drive in our cars, and at the time, I wasn't with my wife then. I had other girlfriends, and I hate mentioning that, but we would make the girlfriends drive in their own car, and me and David would just drink Dunkin' Donuts coffee and smoke a bunch of weed and have a notebook that we would just be filling out spot for spot for spot for spot. And yeah, it was fun. Like, those were the fun days, going up and working for Tony Atlas and getting to do those things, you know? Yeah, those were the days. And then, you know, I'll bring it to you this. Growing up in Malden, Massachusetts, I'm a graduate in 1992 of Malden High School. I never even knew that I used to walk by Kowalski School on a daily basis. I never even knew it was up these stairs. And like I said, I was an ECW mock. I would go to the Revere Wonderland dog track every month to watch these matches. And I was a doorman. I was a trained security guard at a local bar. TJ's Roadhouse was the name of it. And I ended up meeting John Cronus' girlfriend. She found out that I liked wrestling, and she's like, you know what, I'm going to bring you to ECW. And at the end of the night, I ended up meeting John Cronus, another Walter Killer Kowalski student who is not with us at this time. John, may you rest in peace, my brother. So I stopped following the Eliminators around. And I'm going here and I'm going there with them, and it's the night they're at the IEBW Hall, as Paul Heyman would say, in Waltham, Massachusetts. That used to make me cringe. It's Waltham, not Waltham. So Perry had torn his ACL, and that was the week before he was set to go to WCW. And Perry's intimidating, man. He ain't no more taller than me, but dude, he was jacked. And he just had this weird, like, his eye and stuff like that. And he's looking at me, and I ask all, like, crazy questions to him. He goes, listen, you fuck. The next time I see you, you just better not go to Killer Quality School and stop talking. And he took off. So that next day, I searched down Erin. I'm knocking on Erin's door, and we would party over her house until like 4 a.m. and stuff like that. I was over there at 9 a.m. because I couldn't sleep because I wanted to get to walk to Killer Kowalski's to get my career started. And that Tuesday, right after that Sunday, 2 days later, she brought me up to Walter's school. I walked up them stairs. I look at her. I go, man, I never knew that this was Walter's school. I used to walk by here all the time. And I walked up them stairs, walked in. And for those of you who know Walter and met him, his hand was, curved in so like it fit a perfect handshake. So I shake his hand, and the first thing he did when I squeezed his head, he was like, oh, and he sold for me. I'm like, whoa, did I really just hurt this dude? Like, no way. So we're walking around, we're talking, he's asking my athletic background. I told him I play football, but wrestling, we'll just kick back, rewind, and I was 1979, 1980. I remember sitting in front of the TV, and it wasn't Hulk Hogan that influenced me to get into wrestling. It was a guy with big ears that looked like Obie Taylor, and he went, by golly, I'll do this. Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund influenced me to become a professional wrestler. I wanted to be just like Bob Backlund, And then I seen Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and I said, I'm gonna jump off a cage just like him. And I did years later, but anyways. So I go to Walter's school, and I go up there, and at the end, he's like, it's $1,500 or $1,750 with payments. And I was like, all right, I'll be here with $1,500 on Thursday. He just looked at me. He's like, how the heck is this guy? Well, I'm not going to tell you what I used to do for money. You just put your own money. So I went on my way out. He looks at me, he goes, how big are you? I go, well, 5'7", 165. He's like, no, you're not going to come it. And I was like, whoa, geez, here's exploded on me already. I haven't even messed up yet. He looks at me, he goes, you repeat after me. You were 6'7", 302 pounds. And I look, I'm like, oh, crap. I was like, he goes, so how big are you? And I go, 5'7", 180. He's like, no, you're not coming. You're 6'7", 302 pounds, and I don't want to hear anything about it. And I go, all right. And then he looks at me again. He goes, so how big are you? I go, 6'7", 302 pounds, and don't you forget it. And I walk down them stairs. Walter Kowalski instilled in me that you can call this business work, fate, whatever you want. Can I tell you? You let other men throw you around a ring. You let them press you over your head. You get slammed to a ring that has an half-inch worth of padding with wood and steel under it. To say that you're not a tough person is the biggest understatement I'll ever say. He taught me how to stand up for myself more than I ever did. And I grew up in a rough, tough Italian-Irish neighborhood that if you didn't ball break or you didn't start fights, you got your ass handed to you, man. You had to fight to grow up where I grew up. And Walter, instilled in me, he gave me the biggest confidence in the world. Sometimes he made me way too arrogant. And do I apologize sometimes for meeting those people for being arrogant? Parts of me, yes, but parts of me, no, because that's how much I believed in myself. Every time I stepped into a locker room and I met another opponent, I was representing Walter Killer Kowalski's School of Professional Wrestling. And it may be fake and a work to you, but that night I was going to outwork you and I was going to outperform you. I was going to do whatever it took to make sure I got the biggest pop or the biggest booze. So we start, Chris opens up his promotion, he gives me a call, and he gave me a place to work and to hone my craft even more. And a lot of you guys, these young dudes out here, you want to get paid all this money, you want to show up with 6 different girls and impress them in the ring, but you don't put up the ring, you don't break down the ring, you don't sell a ticket, you don't put up a poster. I did all that stuff. I did all that stuff to prove my worth, okay? I did all of it. So I found my work for Chris. I meet a kid named Nick Narcissistic Phil. He's out here tonight getting inducted. I love you, brother. And I remember the first night I worked, and listen, I work different than any other people. I stopped working spots when I heard quotes from Triple H where he's like, I just go out there and work so I can make my match different than anybody else's. And the reason why he did that is because he wanted to see how much the other person actually put into knowing the art of being a professional wrestler. And I was a Triple H mark, like big time. I was a Triple H mark. I'm not gonna lie. I loved the way he worked. I loved his persona, his larger than life. When he came out to his music, and for a while I came out to Human by Metallica, and it was the S&M version with the symphony orchestra. And people would say I'd be at home just thinking, how does my entrance go? And I thought about Jim Ross going, Jim Ross's moniker going, that's one bad Boston bad boy, and me standing and doing my thing and listening to the music. But anyways, I remember Phil in the locker room, he's looking at me, he's like, what are we gonna talk? What are we gonna do? And I was like, listen, kid, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna listen to the crowd, see what they're gonna do. And he just looked at me, he's like, what the? And I'm like, don't worry about it, kids, I got you, man. I was a heel. I didn't have to do cool flips, cool alakazoos. I just had to be there to bump for you and to make sure you looked like $1 million, okay? And I had no problem selling for people. I had no problem making you look like $1 million, because when you looked like $1 million, I looked like $999,000. So I was just $1 below you. So, and that's the persona I had. Every locker room I went to, I knew. The other thing is everybody now, they all want to top each other, okay? When I came up in the business, match one meant something. You didn't go out of the ring. That was against the rules. Do not go out of the ring. Stay in the ring and do your thing. Let the card build, let it escalate, let it get to the top. Let the two top guys do what they have to do so that they can let the people who are in that crowd buy a ticket to come back once again. You can't have the same elevation if there's 8 matches on a card. They can't all be main event. Earn your keep. The promoter will see that you're talented enough to one night be in the main event, okay? I didn't care where I was at. I just wanted to be part of the show. But I knew this for a fact, that my match was going to be different than everybody else's. I learned how to work. I learned wrestling moves. I learned, one of the best lessons I ever got was by Devon Dudley. And he was like, heels should not hit anything cool. Heels should miss everything cool. It's the baby face that should hit the cool moves. So when the fans see it, they're like, oh, I love him, and that's one thing I learned. And you miss your good moves. Don't be afraid to suck it up. You know what I mean? Go out there and it's a dance, it's a tango, okay? You go out there, you do your thing, you do what the promoter tells you. It don't matter if it's $5, a hot dog, and a handshake. I mean, just look at it this way. When I first started working with Chris, he used to hand you a $15 check. And that's true. $15 on a check. And I didn't care. I remember being around some of the boys, they're like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, I'm not gonna cash this. I look at them, I go, oh, my bank's used to it. I'm a landscaper. I go in with $15 checks all the time, I didn't care. It was the appreciation of him giving me that money. I didn't even care about the money at times. I came up, I did shows free for him at his wrestling school, just so I could come up there and not be rusty, just so I could go up there where people, young dudes, who actually is not a young dude, he actually come to find out he's right around my age. Carlo Vintada, shout out to you, man. Being able to have the opportunity to work in front of different crowds. Do you think? Scott Levesque, I didn't notice you would not have as much hair as you used to. I remember you. I just figured I'd call you out during my promo, you know what I'm saying? So, I can see I'll probably talk for a couple more minutes, but the worst thing you could do is give it a Sicilian, Italian, American a microphone. You think CM Punk got a pipe bomb? You can't give Jason Rumble the pipe bomb. You know? So, I'll get to my family now. People say, how much money did you make? How did you do this? How did you do that? You know? And on Google, it's funny, if you Google Jason Rumble's net worth, it says that I'm worth like $2.5 million. Where the hell is that bank account? Because I would love to have it, you know? It's not about the money. Because to me, I'm the richest man in the world. I got to grace the wrestling ring in the world with some of the greatest people I know who were dedicated to me. People like Mike King, people like Damon Doc Anvil, people like Pun in the front row right there, people like Chris Island, Sergeant Muldoon, who I used to watch on Saturday mornings on the WWF against King Kong Bundy, a guy that I worked 25 times. I became his personal bunk buddy for about 2 years, and I loved it. Mike King back there, who helped build my ring and put up with my bull crap all the time. Willie, who's back there, that would drive 6 hours working at Google, making tons of money, and would come up for legitimately a hot dog and a handshake. You know what I'm saying? It's people like that getting to dance with Kid Narcissistic over many, many times. Some of the best matches in my whole life. Some of the best, like, legit, man. Legit. Legit, man. Which brings me to this. The day I met my wife, that was the day I became rich. It was Machias, Maine, at the University of Maine and Machias. And here's this scantily dressed lady who looks sexy in her Playboy outfit with her little spinny belt on. And here I am. I what, guys? I wasn't always this fat dude that you look at. Like, I actually look like the picture that they posted. But the face, my daughter put online, like, who abducted my father? And that was me, okay? That was me. So, I'm not gonna lie. We walked around this place like we owned it. We thought we were the cat's meow, so to speak. And I couldn't believe this chick ain't gonna give me the time of day. So it's like I stayed where she's with her little sister Chelsea, who now Chelsea's like 30 years old. Time flies when you're having fun, baby. And I go, can I spin your belt? And she looks at me and goes, no, you can't spin my belt. I'm like, what? I go, am I ugly or something? She's like, no, you can't spin my belt. You beat up my friend. I don't like you. I was like, oh, well, I'm sorry I beat up your friend, but can I please spin your belt? So finally she gave in. I got to spin her little Playboy belt, and I had just gone out of a rough relationship at the time, and I went out for an alcoholic beverage. I call it the Toothless Moose, but it was called the Thirsty Moose. And I've never had a woman hold a door open for me. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I mean, now you guys are gonna think, oh, he made money, he had a Rolex watch. Dude, I was in debt when I bought that Rolex watch. So I went out, I forgot I had the diamond Rolex watch on, and I got into a scuffle to set up the main event. And I remember punching the kid, and then one punch, because it's a work, you know, and I punched the canvas, and there explodes my Rolex watch. I'm like, holy crap, you're not supposed to sell that. I'm selling that thing. That thing was like $5,000 and it was used. So, needless to say, that night it was in a few different pieces. I was enjoying a nice Coors Light, because that was the beverage of beer that I liked to drink at the time. And I've never had a woman not only hold the door open for me, but when I bought the alcoholic beverage, she took a napkin and put the napkin under my beer. And there was just something that it was like somebody smacking me on the back of the head and going, this one's worth talking to. This one, you know? And at the time I traveled a lot around the world. I used to do 45 days in Canada, go all the way, and the tours would end in Newfoundland, where you had no phone. So the biggest test of all was she came down and babysat my Boston Terrier and watched my house, and she was there for over 30 days alone. There was days that went, sometimes you could ask her, she went a week, 10 days without listening to me, like me being able to call. Cell phones did not work. These small little Indian villages had no phone. I came home. The only thing that was wrong is my dog loved her now and couldn't stand me. So, you know, and I said to myself, man, I ain't letting this one go. She lived 4.5 hours away from me. She was willing to take a bus ride down. And Machias, Maine is like, it's so calm, you don't like, they're nothing. Where she experienced coming to Boston to live with me, it's a culture shock. And this chick sat in that house all alone with the dog and not knowing anybody. My house was clean, I came home, not that that was important, but it was like, all the things added up. I said, come on, let's get in the car. And we went into a store, and, you know, I'm like, look at these rings. You like any of these? And she's like, why would you want to know if I like these rings? I was like, you never know one day. You never know. So I faked her out and told her I forgot something in the store, went into the store, came back out with an engagement ring, and I asked her to marry me. And she's put up with my crap every day ever since that. That lady deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So when I tell you, am I rich? Yeah, I am rich. I have the best friends that nobody can ever take away from me. Brothers in this business that bumped for me, took 12 stitches in their head for me and didn't want to kill me afterwards. But most of all, I got my wife. I got two of the best kids I could ever ask for. So when people go, do you miss wrestling? I miss you people more than I miss wrestling itself. But there's nothing like being able to know on a Friday that I can go watch my boy play baseball, watch my daughter cheerlead, get to coach the numerous amount of teams that I coach in high school, youth athletics. I'm my son's biggest fan. I enjoy watching my boy play every sport, dude. So I look at it this way. What I say to all my athletes, I go, to try and get them focused. I go, picture we're driving a car, it's got no mirrors. It's got no rear view, it's got no side mirrors. We're just looking forward, boys. So here I am. I'm driving that car right now. And I'm going down that highway and I saw a sign that said, live pro wrestling tonight. Oh, and Jason Rumble, you're going in the Hall of Fame. So we screeched that vehicle off. We went to the side, which brings me here tonight, which I cannot thank you enough, Chris. So I just want to read real quickly. I know maybe some of you are not into, you know, the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm not going to bring out a lot, but I can tell you this. Just because, you know, it's a diet, and this diet ain't bad, and everybody should try to indulge in it because it's made a much better man out of me, turning my life over to Christ. And one of the key Bible phrases, and I'll just read it, and this sticks out in my mind, and my pastor will say this all the time. It's Corinthians 2, and it's verse 14. I'll start up at 13. And you who were dead, your trespasses, the uncircumcision of your flesh, God made alive together with him, having forgiven us for all our trespasses by canceling the record of debt that stood against us with its legal demands. This has been all set aside, nailing it to the cross. That sticks in my brain. For every sin I've ever did, it's been nailed to the cross. And I'm able to relive and not have to be shy about anything, man. The Lord Jesus Christ saved my day. I was baptized, and it was like a million-pound monkey was lifted off my back. So I have one more, but it's the wrestler's prayer, and I'd like to read this to all of you, because it's true words right here. This was written by Levi Mullins. My wife sent it to me last night, and like I said, she didn't have to send it to me, but God works in mysterious ways. So I felt that my wife sent this to me, and I had to read this to you guys. So I end it like this. I packed my bag, which I did last night, for another night, in another town, for another fight. Lord, keep me safe while I travel anywhere. Watch over my family while I'm not there. Well, that here with me tonight. Watch over my brothers and sisters who enter the ring, for we live our life for this one thing. All I can hope is when I leave this world that I've touched a few lives, so someone somewhere will toll the bell for me for the last 10 times. That's like the truest of all ever. I'll end it with this tomorrow night. You can never say never, and my wife gave me the opportunity to be here to not only do the Hall of Fame, but to enter the Rumble or whatever match it may be, the Gauntlet or whatnot. I may be fat and out of shape right now, boys, but when I lace up them boots and I put on that gear, I'm probably gonna almost die when I go back to the locker room. But you will know that the Boston bad boy, Jason Rumble, is there for one last time, and this will be my last hurrah. It's been a great career. Not many people can say that they started in 1997 and lasted till 2026. And the reason why I probably want to end, I might do one here, one there, but, my wife will want to kill me, but, when it all comes down to it, she enjoys this stuff. My son was probably 3 the last time he saw me wrestle, so he thinks his dad's some fat old guy, And I'm going to show that little twerp tomorrow night. Your daddy is some fat old guy. I'm going to show you why. When it's all said and done, when the smoke clears and that dust settles, I had one saying, I am the boldest, I am the baddest. When it's all said and done, I am simply the best. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
The next inductee of our Hall of Fame is someone who personifies the true meaning of the word veteran. Their career transcended into national televised events, taking them from local arenas in New England all the way to the biggest stages of professional wrestling. When their career began in the late 1970s, they quickly established themselves as a rugged competitor with the toughness to compete with anybody they placed across from him in the ring. The same rugged toughness that would inevitably lead them to their longtime nickname, Sarge. During the early 1980s, this veteran competed in the World Wrestling Federation, sharing the ring with some of the industry's most notable names, including Hulk Hogan, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Junkyard Dog, and the Iron Sheik, performing in legendary venues like Madison Square Garden. But beyond the bright lights of national television, this veteran remained a cornerstone of the New England wrestling scene. Over the years, he captured the New England Heavyweight Championship and New England Tag Team Championships, earning the respect of fans and fellow wrestlers alike. Nowadays, this veteran utilizes the knowledge they have gained from pro wrestling to help train the next generations of Showcase Pro Wrestling. His career represents toughness, it represents perseverance, and a deep love for the wrestling business. Qualities that define the spirit of the independent scene and what it truly means to be a Hall of Famer. Tonight, we proudly recognize that legacy. And please help me welcoming their presenter for the next inductee into the class of 2026, Derek Muldoon.
Before I start, I just want to let you know that John, he was my father in wrestling. I had lost my father when I was 20. He was only 40 years old. And I said, if I'm going to die that young, I'm going to become a professional wrestler. And you know, just like every kid, we had done stuff, you know, broke bed springs and mattresses and all that other stuff. I mean, I'm not here to talk about John's personal life because it's not my place to talk about that personal life. That's the family that he loves, but he is a family man. No doubt about it. He loved his family. He loves his family dearly. But he had two families. He has a family that he keeps private, and he has his wrestling family. And he loves his wrestling family just as much. And it's been, I mean, it's been so long. I mean, I've known John for over 30 years. And he was one of the people who helped me get going in the business. I'm not going to talk about the stuff at the table that we've seen. I'm not going to talk about anything that you can Google, though you should Google all his accomplishments. I want to talk about the man that no one sees behind persona, because persona, it goes much deeper than John Callahan and Sergeant Muldoon, yet they still come together at the end, if that makes any sense. You know, this is a little disjointed because it was, when I was trying to put this together, things would just come to me. And it would be in the middle of the night, and I'd jot them down in my journal and just, I didn't want to come up here and sound like an AI-generated robot, you know, and do stuff. So things will make sense. Listen, I was never good at cutting promos. That's why they put a mask on me for 30 years, so I didn't have to talk. You know, one of John's things was, you know, when we were at Salisbury Beach, which we'll get to in a second, prima donnas, you know, you see them a lot today in the sport. There were no prima donnas in John's thing. And if you were a prima donna, you went in with John or you went in with somebody and you got stretched. And then you did your job and everything was fine. And if you didn't want to do that, then you saw the door. I mean, it was crazy. John's wrestling lessons were not only wrestling lessons, but they were lessons in life that you could take from the ring into life itself, which was, you know, for me, a kid who just lost his father, you know, what the hell am I doing? You know, it was crazy. And John had known that. And I remember him telling me that when further down my career, you know, it was one of those things where he had asked, you know, how are you doing? And I'm just like, I'm okay. He's like, do you think you'd still be doing this if your dad was alive? I was just like, yeah, probably. But I was still on the fence. He's like, well, maybe your dad passing away was the push that you needed to have this come true. And that always resonated with me. And that's why John has always come from a place of reality. You know, and to be clear, you know, all those things that you see on TV and stuff, all those reality shows, breaking the fourth wall and stuff, that's not reality, okay? Because they want you to see what they want you to see, okay? It's sports entertainment. And the thing was that when I was with John and I was lucky enough to be educated by him, and he took me under his wing when he saw something that I didn't see. We weren't sports entertainers. We were professional wrestlers, and we had to work for a living. And that was the thing. January 15th, 1994, I made my debut in Taunton. And Big City Mike, God bless his soul, he was working with John, and they were working with Bruiser Coster up in New Hampshire. And I had my debut with my friend Carlos, who's in the audience today. And we had the tag match, and I was just like, all right, is that it? My career, one and done, is that it? What happened? So I get a call that week, and it was from John and Bruiser Costa, and they both said the same thing. We're going to pass out a gimmick to you, buy a hockey mask, buy a set of mechanics outfits, some boots, get some gloves, dirty them up, and you're going to be on Jason the Slasher. Now, this has been a gimmick that had been handed down for years. So we started, that's where I started up in New Hampshire. Up in Nashua. I never had a lot of faith in myself, and I know that we're our own worst critics. And John, he was always patient. And on the indies, you had to earn your spot. And John was old school with booking with anybody. He always told me, if you're on that sheet, you belong. And Chris has always said the same thing. If you're on the sheet, you belong. In fact, our cameraman over here, Justin Blaze, who I got Chris had asked me to get him a job at PC, and I got him into PC. And we had a talk a couple of weeks ago, and I told him, I said, listen, he was kind of worried about some of his camera work, and I was just like, listen, you're being scheduled every week on multiple events. You belong here. So, old school booking, I mean, there was a point at Salisbury Beach where people started to know that I was Jason the Slasher, or they thought I was. So John, brilliant idea, we get intern number 2, we dress him up in my outfit. So I come out as Derek the Defenseman, and then they say Jason the Slasher, and the crowd does a double take. And John said, this is what I want. I want a 17-second match. I want you to go in, I want you to hit yourself with 2 clotheslines, and then miss the third one, and then he's gonna choke slam you, and then he's gonna bail. And sure enough, that's what happened. And people were just like, what the hell just happened? How can he? And it was absolute brilliant, booking. And John knew how to put asses in seats. So him in Big City, I worked for Jeff Coster up in New Hampshire. They were the tag team champions. They had put the strap around me for about 6 months. Sonny Goodspeed, Captain USA, he was blown up. He was pretty much done. He needed a rest, and they put the belt on me. Now I'm only 6 months into my career, and they got the strap on me, and I was just like, holy cow! But the Jason gimmick was over, and it worked. And that was really cool. It was, and John was the one who pushed for me, and he always pushed for me. And good booking always equals good pro wrestling. The angles, it just, everything that John did in conjunction with Big City Mike, it all made sense. So I worked up in New Hampshire for a while, and then summer of '95. Now, some people say if you remember the summer of '95, you weren't there. But summer of '95, Salisbury Beach was where I got my education. There was a rebuilt arcade that John and Big City had redone, and they put a wrestling ring in the middle. What is it, 300? Yeah. So we had a little side place in the back, for the dressing room, and we had wrestling every Friday and Saturday night. It was, and we would sell out. We were like rock stars up there. We brought in so much business to the other vendors. We didn't have to pay for anything out there. It was insane. But the thing was with John was when he was booking, he was running angles. We could do month-long angles because we were doing Friday and Saturdays. It was every weekend during that summer of Salisbury. And then it got so popular, we got to a third. We went to Sundays. So now you're wrestling 3 matches every weekend, and you're doing crazy angles that made sense. If we needed a one-off, like when I needed to wrestle myself, we did it just to keep kayfabe alive, because kayfabe was huge back then. The only time we didn't do kayfabe was after everybody left, we'd go to the dugout, which was this dunge bar that was like underground, we'd sing karaoke till the sun came. He put me in with John Cronus, Harry Satin, one act each night, and then both of them, and I was ready to kill them after the third night. I mean, these guys beat the living hell out of me. But they said I had the chops because I just kept coming back. And John was just like, and then he said, hey, I'm gonna put you with Tony Atlas. And I was scared silly. He said, listen, Tony's just like everybody else. Just work him like everybody else. Be confident. You're booked against Tony because you belong to be here. And it was crazy. And Sarge was he was so over as a babyface. We were in a tag match. It was Sarge and Big City Mike against me and Tony. Who was my partner? I forget who it was, or it might have been a handicap match. But Sarge decided to turn heel. He turned bad. It was really bad. You can see some of the letters over there that wanted them to take the title off you. So he beats Tony Atlas up, and the crowd is in shock. Now Tony's got the nightstick, cracks him over the head. He's bleeding everywhere. Cracks Big City over the head. He's bleeding everywhere. And I don't know how you came up with this, but they called it Champs Arena. And John gets the microphone and says, "Hey, Tony." Now remember, this is '95. There's a little unrest going on, the LA riots. And John, he needs to sell tickets, so he comes up, he goes, "Hey, Tony, welcome to Champs Arena, where we treat you like a king. Rodney King." And then he keeps beating him with the baton. I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to end well. So there they are, bleeding in the ring. The part-time ring announcer and the girl, Carrie McCormick, who was doing everything. She did merchandise and all that other stuff. He says, "Hey, doll, get over here." Now, back in the day, you might have to Google this, we had what was called Polaroid cameras. We didn't have phones, we didn't have internet, we would take a picture with this Polaroid, we'd actually spit out a photo right there, and you would sign that. So he tells her, "Hey, doll, get over here with that camera," because she was the one who took it. And he took pictures of them bloody. He then proceeded to walk out to the front, and with a handmade sign, he taped them on the glass for everybody to see who would walk by Champs Arena. And it said, "It only gets worse next week." Now we're drawing people, because now he's got two bloody faces on the window. He had just said, well, he just literally beat him like Rodney King, which I don't know how we got away with that. I mean, it was a different day back then. But the angle made sense, and we worked that angle for a month and a half, until finally it came down to, I don't even know how we ended it, but it was crazy. But then Tony Atlas, he was just like, "Hey, you know what? We need to go further. You should say how I grew up in a dirt shack and eat fried chicken and watermelon." I was just like, "No, Tony, we can't do that. Tony, we cannot do that." Tony was all in on that stuff. But yeah, we had stopped right there. But it was just genius booking, and it was. I never seen John get angry either. John always pointed out the positive and not the negative, and he would try to coach you. All right, this might have gone wrong, but there's still right in the wrong. And he mentored you. And Champs only lasted a year, and I think it was because John and Big City Mike, they were just so nice to the boys. They wanted to make sure everybody got a payday. They wanted to. The guys who were really working their asses off, working, 3 days, in a row. He just wanted to make sure that they were taken care of. And unfortunately, it's a cutthroat business. And I remember I asked him, I said, "How did such a loving, family man get into such a cutthroat business?" And he asked me the same question in return. He answered my question with the same question. "Well, you're a good kid. Why are you doing this?" I said, "Because I love pro wrestling." And he leaned at me like a proud father, and he just, 3 words. He said, you get it. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame or fortune. We were big fish in a small pond, and we loved it. We loved it. That summer was such an inspiration, and to be under his guidance, you wanted those stories, you talk to John. He'll have one at the ready, 20 in his back pocket, and 100 more to tell you. You want to talk to this man, you really do. We want to sit down. And I was lucky that he took me under his wing. He doesn't do that to many people. He can train, but literally, he would pull me aside. He would I was working at the Paw Sox at the time, and I told my guys, all right, if he comes up, whatever he wants in the menu. He wasn't greedy. Just give me a general admission, a beer, bag of peanuts, and a scorecard. I'm just gonna, score the game. Just always selfless. And in this business, selfless doesn't last too long. And John's, he made it as a good guy. And he's still around today. I mean, that's a testament that nice guys don't always finish last, especially in the world of professional wrestling. I mean, it's a real eye-opener. And now, we've got sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, but we grew up in the world of kayfabe. I mean, I remember one time he came to the mall where I was working at the time, and I had my arm in a sling, and I had a bandage on my head, and he's like, what the hell happened? I said, I'm selling the gimmick. He's like, that boy, because, I was 100% into that, man. Kayfabe was real back then. We worked a lot together after Salisbury Beach, on and off. I helped, Chris. I mean, I was with Chris from day one with Showcase Pro, and they brought in Saj, and I've been working with them, like I said, on and off for 30 years. I left SPW in 2015 to pursue some other careers, which have been very fruitful, but I never lost touch with John, whether it be through text, Facebook, email, coming down to the Paw Sox, or whatever, or just to get together. I mean, John he was always, like I said, he was my wrestling father, and anybody who's lucky enough to be around him right now in Showcase Pro Wrestling, you sidle up to him. He's not going to be angry. He's going to teach you. He's going to teach you the old way, which hopefully is going to start coming back. Like Mr. Rumble was saying, you can't keep topping the top. It just becomes a spot fest. You can't do that. Like you said, you have your position on the card, and that's to build up other guys. But you can still stand out and get booked. And that's the big difference between, John's book. I mean, he was doing these angles right before Indies had any right to be doing angles because of what we had. We had that thing, 3 days a week. I mean, it was just crazy. John, I can't tell, what do you say about a guy who precipitated and let you live your dream? My only dream was to become a professional wrestler. And without John, I maybe would have had one match and that was it. But he believed in me, and he believes in a lot of people. And he's not going to sugarcoat it for you either. He's going to tell you, listen, we've tried, but man, it's, and he said that to a couple of people at Salisbury, and they were like, you know what? Okay, no problem. But you just got to listen, and I'm not going to say respect your elders, because we don't want to put you into the elder section of this speech. But John is one of, if not the nicest guys I've met in wrestling. No offense to you, Mr. Blackheart. Remember when you beat the hell out of me for the title in PLW? So that keeps going. I get you. He's telling me to wrap it up. just let them go home and when I mention his name. So,
Flash the lights.
In closing, I just want to tell John, listen, I respect John. I admire John. I have faith in John. I trust in John. And I love John. And John has always been and never shall be my friend and my family. So I really would like everyone to get up there, off their feet, and give a nice round of applause to this 2026.
Still the man. He's still the man.
See the trainers are kissing up over here. Fucking do you any good. Before I start, I just want to thank the man who's responsible for me being here tonight, not Chris Blackham. But his patience, his wisdom, and his guidance was key to my career, and that is the late, great Killer Kowalski. I grew up in Milford, which was only about 10 miles from here. And every Saturday morning, I was glued to the TV. Channel 56, 11 a.m., Championship Wrestling. I'd watch the last half hour of Soul Train just so I wouldn't mix the beginning of Championship. Soul Train. Everybody's like, what the hell is that? Without sounding too racist, because I will later on. Yes, I don't have many filters. Yes, sir. That was the Black American Bandstand. So what you would see is the R&B artist and soul artist. And it was my first introduction to that music. So it was a good thing. But I was 10 years old and I was hooked on that, and all I wanted to be was a professional wrestler. It's 46 years ago. Let me repeat that. 46 years ago, I can't even believe it. I started in this business. It was June 4th, 1979. I walked into the Salem YMCA, met Killer Kowalski. And if I had known on that night the crap I was going to endure for the next 46 years, I would have turned my butt around and go right back out. It was called the Killer Kowalski Institute of Professional Wrestling at that time, which makes it sound glamorous. There's nothing glamorous about it. It was a broken down YMCA. We had a 30 by 30 room with no ventilation, a 20 by 20 boxing ring, and Killer Kowalski continuously telling you, that was the shit, do it again.
Sounds like somebody.
So when I started in business, it was all different. It's not what you guys are doing now. All I had to do was get to the building, and if I was still breathing, I was good. But nobody welcomed you with open arms. They all thought you were coming in to take their spot, and they didn't want to give up their spots. The first guy that would ever talk to me, and I'll remember this day forever, was Gentleman Jerry Valiant. He came over, introduced himself, asked who I was, where I trained, and as soon as I said I trained with Killer Kowalski, I was invited into the dressing room. My first match was against Dominic DiNucci. Now all the kids are like, who? Huh? But Dominic was a champion back then. It was in Manchester Center, Vermont. Angelo Saboldi was the agent. He said, all you gotta do is listen to Dominic. We wrestled for 8 minutes and Dominic didn't say a word. I realized at that point, I'm not listening to anybody anymore. I'm just gonna do what Walter taught me how to do, and I'm gonna see what happens. Now, if you were lucky, you had a veteran that would take you around and show you the ropes, and I did. Ricky Sexton lived in the same town I did. So he would go with me, and he'd introduce me to promoters, and I'm not gonna make Ricky jokes tonight, you know, I'm not gonna go, hey kid, look at the wings. We'll take the glass, stick it on his chest like this. Come on, get rid of that on the shelf. I'm not gonna do that. But what Ricky would do is he'd introduce me to promoters, and if there was a spot on the card, I could work. And if I couldn't get booked as a wrestler, I set up the rings anyway, I took back jackets, I refereed, I rang the bell, I kept the time, whatever it took, just so I was part of that show. So as the promoter knew that I would come back and do it all over again for them. And started getting me bookings. Now, I don't want to brag, but I'm going to do it anyway.
6 months to the day that I started training, I did my first WWF TV. Johnny Rods, that we wrestled Ivan Putski and Tito Santana, who at that time were the World Tag Team Champions. And if you think Joy Moses is nervous about going against Don Vega tomorrow night, you try standing in a ring with Ivan Putski looking at you. Well, the big highlight of my early career was that I wrestled Hulk Hogan at Boston Garden. And I'll do podcasts now, and people will ask me, how did it feel to get in the ring with Hulk Hogan? And my response is, how does it feel to know you're about to get your ass kicked? I actually wrestled Hogan 3 times, twice in Allentown and once in the Garden. And one of the tapes from Allentown went to Memphis. Now back then, you were supposed to get paid whenever you did TV. And I never wrestled the Memphis territory, so I think old Deep Pockets Jerry down there in Memphis owes me a little scratch. We were at Boston Garden that afternoon, and Phil Zacco, who was a top guy in the WWF office, if you ever watched the old championship wrestling or all-star wrestling, he always said the matches are presented by promoter Phil Zacco, right your guy. He was in Boston for whatever reason, and Terry walked over to him before we went to the ring, and he said, Phil, I hear a lot of people cheering me. Maybe I should be babyface. Phil's got his little cigar. And, you're too goddamn big. Just shut up and do what you're told. Phil had no foresight for what was coming. So I remember that afternoon really clear because, not because it was Boston Garden, not because it was Hulk Hogan. When I was in high school, my guidance counselor asked me, what were my plans after graduation? I said, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. He said, that's a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. But I was standing in the middle of the ring at Boston Garden, looking up at the rafters, I said, man, this is one hell of a pipe dream. 1982, the Boston Sports Museum is just getting going. The plans for getting ready to build the Sports Museum. Dave Cowens from the Boston Celtics was the chairman for it. So he asked Walter to bring down some wrestlers to do an exhibition at the NBC rink in Newton. So we went down, we were the International Wrestling Federation. And somebody, maybe you don't remember this, maybe Jay Rumble will remember this. Sunday mornings, 11 o'clock, Channel 25, Bedlam from Boston.
Boston, man, my favorite.
We were the number 2 show in our time slot. We want to guess what was number 1? Sure. Community auditions. Those jerk kids that didn't even have any talent. So we went down to the NBC rink, and there was a lot of the old players from different sports, from all 4 pro sports in Boston, some college standouts. While we're there, this guy that was sitting next to me said, hey, if you boys want a beer, it's right in the refrigerator, just help yourself. So I went over and I grabbed one, sat back down, and popped it open. Sean O'Reilly says, where'd you get a beer? There's a refrigerator over there. The old guy said he could have one. Walter heard me. Oh, God, that's Bob Cousy, the greatest basketball player ever. Who the hell is Bob Cousy? He wasn't mad at me that I was drinking a beer before a match. He was mad at me that I called Bob Cousy the old guy. So I was wrestling Tim O'Reilly. Walter asked me to get him over by DQ. Said no problem. We had a referee, he was a midget named Dana. I had an idea. I had that a lot. Told Timmy, I'll get you in the corner, stay on you. When the ref comes in, I'll break. I'm going to get right back on you again. When he comes back in to get me to break again, I'm going to hook him in a suplex. And Timmy starts digging and says, that's not going to happen. You can't catch him. So I'll catch him. I'll bet you a beer. And that's a safe bet because the beer was free. It was right in the refrigerator. That's the old guy. So I get Tim on the ropes. Ref comes in. So I break. Right back on him. Is the ref trying to get me to break again? I tell him, Danny, get between us. As soon as he got between us, I hooked him right away for a vertical suplex. All you could hear was screaming. Timmy's laughing his head off. He's trying to block it so people don't see him laughing. I got Dana up in the air. I'm going up here, it was like here. And I just saw these two little feet go like this. I'm like, ah! You're going, buddy. We got back to the dressing room. Oh my God, Dana was pissed. I'm gonna kick your ass. You can't reach my ass. Walter was laughing so hard, he couldn't even be mad at me for doing it. That's when we started wrestling. There wasn't Planet Fitness, there wasn't Gold's Gym, and all these places you can go to now. You were lucky you had a place that you could go work out. So I lifted weights, but not with much enthusiasm. But in 1983, I really got into working out, and I went from 275 pounds to 220 pounds. But at that same time, I went back to WWF, New York office. Tony Altamori saw me and told me, come with him. He wanted me to talk to Vince Sr. I had been in WWF on and off for 3-4 years at that point. I'd never talked to Vince Sr. But now Vince you saw on TV, the announcer, he owned the office since 1982. But he didn't pull the strings. It was his dad that actually got you booked and actually said what you're going to be doing. Junior thought he was in charge, but he wasn't in charge. The best thing I learned about that time in WWF was how to pull a chewing screw. Tony Altamori had a bunch of young kids out one night. We're at a diner. He takes the bill and he says, I'll take care of this, boys. You just leave a tip on the table. So what he does is he takes the bill, he folds it out, he sticks it in his pocket, reaches in, pulls $1 out, and goes buys a pack of gum. So we're all throwing the money on the table for the tip. So if the waitress looked at the table, there's money on the table. If they look up at the counter, there's Tony pulling money out of his pocket. They think he paid the bill. It's a hard lesson in wrestling. But one probably doesn't help. You know, back then, WWF, it was very stringent. You did what they told you to do. That was it. You didn't get to go out and do your own thing, even though I tried anyway. A few nights I did take some liberties. One night I was wrestling Swede Hansen in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. I don't know if anybody even remembers Swede Hansen. He was a huge redneck. And he had hands that were like a bear. And what he would do is he'd put you in the corner and then he'd slap you in the chest. And it felt like he ripped through your chest, came out your back, grabbed your spine, and pulled it with him. I knew a second one was coming. So as soon as he reared his hand back, I jumped up and with both feet, I kicked him under the chin, took him right down to the mat. He's kneeling down, he looks at me, he's holding his chin, smiling. That was a good one, kid. And my first thought is, oh my God, I'm about to die. I wrestled Jimmy Snooker in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. This is on the All-Star Wrestling tapes. And they told me to lay down, which means you're getting carried out on a stretcher. I was fine with that. So Snooker does this big leap off the top rope, on a stretcher, carry you back. They had doctors there because in Pennsylvania, that was a commission state, so there were doctors. So I had to pay for the doctor into believing that my ribs really hurt when it didn't hurt at all. So I figured I'm done for the night. I get changed. And I'm in the dressing room. Gorilla Monsoon comes in. He's got the lineup for the next hour. Next hour, USA Network, first match, Callahan and Belomo. What? Did you know? I just got carried back on the stretcher. This is a different network. Nobody's going to know. Okay, I got 2 minutes to get back into my tights, my boots, get out to the ring to wrestle Sal below. I used to bring guys to TV and see if they could get booked. A lot of times they did. You might remember some of them. Miguel Rios, he became Chuck Tanner. Mike Shaw, I brought down there. He was later known as Bastion Butter. And Rudy Diamond came down. And Now, the next part this is where I say that a few things I might say sound a little racist. So, if you want me to tell the rest of this story, on the count of three, just yell out, tell the story.
Tell the story!
All right, well, if you insist. So, I took Rudy to TV, and he had a great build. Vince liked him right away, and I should point out that Rudy was black. That's not the racist. He was so dark that one night we were at a bar in Portland, and it's a dim lit bar. And we were in a corner away from all the vans. Myself, Rudy, Haku, Sonny Boy Hayes, and George Napolitano, who was a photographer. Where Rudy was sitting, you could barely see Rudy sitting in the corner. So to be a smart ass, I said, Rudy, smile and open your eyes real wide. All you saw was teeth and eyeballs. I thought that was a myth. Told you that's racist. Now, as you booked against Rudy at Boston Garden. Here was the opening match. Battle Royal night, place sold out, 18,000 people. So you want to look good. It's supposed to go 15 minutes. No problem. Rudy trained with Kowalski. We knew all the same moves. We had a routine worked out. I throw him the ropes, back drop, he leapfrogs over me. I taunt the crowd, he hits me with the drop kick, I sail through the ropes. Rudy jumps over me, I'm taunting the crowd, waiting. And the referee was Danny Davis, and he came over to me and said, he ain't coming. What are you talking about? He's on his face. I turned around, Rudy was laying on the mat on his face. He tripped when he went over me. So I go over, I pick him up, you clumsy bastard. And what did I do that you should never do on Battle Royal night? Any of the trainees want to tell me what that is? I threw him over the top rope. You don't do it when you're the match before the Battle Royal. Oops. But in 1984, the wrestling world was changing. Hulk Hogan was now champion. Hulkamania was starting up. I was still getting booked. I was still making money. But I could see the writing on the wall. Every time we did TV, some new guy would come in and he's totally jacked. And I'm not doing steroids, so I know time is short here. So I went to Quebec. And that's where Sergeant Muldoon was actually born. However, it's not the Sergeant Muldoon everybody knows today. I was an Irish freedom fighter. I had a black mask, black beret, fatigues, an Irish flag, IRA, printed across it. Gino Brito was the promoter up in Canada. He said, I'm not sure that's going to get over up here. So I bet these Canadians are more loyal to England than you think they are. Of course they are, especially when I take the flag and choke Dennis away with it. So once I was in Quebec, I started bringing guys up in her TV. And I was bringing Rudy and Jack Savage. Anybody remember Jack Savage? God bless his soul. Jack was a great guy. And we got to the border crossing in Canada, but we don't want to tell them we're wrestling because we don't have work permits to work in Canada. So we came up with some stupid excuse that we were going to go to Montreal for the night, just hang out at the nightclubs. Well, they got suspicious of that because apparently 2 white guys and a black guy going across the border doesn't happen all that often. They had us pull over. Now they bring us into the office there and they separate us and they ask for our IDs. Oh, God, it's going to happen now, right? Guy that's interviewing me, he says, are you responsible for him? He's pointing at Rudy. What did he do? He was born in Costa Rica. Really? Is that a crime? I didn't know that was a crime in Canada. We can leave him here at the border if we have to. So now, of course, outside, the guys are going through the car, looking for anything they can, and they look through our wrestling bags. And of course, what's in there? Wrestling gear. So the guy finally asked me, what's your business in Canada? I said, well, we're gonna go do TV for Dino Bravo. I'm gonna go back to America. We're not really working in Canada, we're just doing the TV. He said, Dino Bravo, we love Dino Bravo. And they let us go. To this day, I don't know why I didn't say that first. In the 1980s, there was probably several wrestling companies popping up in the mid-80s. Mario Saboldi had ICW, Mushalo had Northeast Wrestling, Rocky Raymond had his schmazza thing, whatever it was. Richard Byrne was trying to get his thing going.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of work. So you could just work with everybody. But the promoter started to realize that I could do main event matches. Then they gave me a microphone. The problem wasn't getting me to talk, it was getting me to shut up. I did an interview one time in Springfield, and they said that was supposed to be a 2-minute promo. Well, how long did I go? 20 minutes. I have a lot to say. Good luck. So now one of the posters to right over there was for the Springfield Civic Center. On that night, I was in the main event with Tony Ulysses. And WWF was running the same building we were running. We outdrew WWF that month. And it only happened now. And I'll tell you, nobody's more surprised than Tony and I were. But just the fact that we outdrew them, to us, was a major accomplishment. And Tony and I were in the main event down at the Rose Arts Festival in Norwich, Connecticut. And that was sold out. We still can't figure out why people came to see us, but they did. The crowd was really hot. And Tony's character was a flamboyant wrestler. I'm not going to say gay, because in 1985 he didn't say that. He said flamboyant. Well, as the match is going on, and we haven't touched each other, and about 12 minutes has gone on, but Tony's doing his stuff, and I would just keep coming at him and giving him the chance to jump out of the ring. Well, the people kept calling him faggot. I thought, that's what disrespectful. So I get outside the ring, I grab the microphone, and I said to the crowd, please, out of respect for the champion, don't call him faggot. Let's call him buckwheat. That's time the buckwheat chant on the side of the ring. Like everybody, buckwheat, buckwheat. So I turned my back so Tony could jump me. We wrestled for 2 minutes and then we went home. To this day, we still laugh about it. He got it. And Tony, and I know Jay touched upon this. Tony actually was from Trinidad. He wrestled in Puerto Rico. I'll give him props now. He's recovering. He had a heart attack about a month ago. He's a wonderful guy. He's a brother. He's unbelievable. In Trinidad, he wrestled Ric Flair. He was still a rookie. 80,000 people showed up to watch this kid from Trinidad wrestle Ric Flair. And Tony's nervous. And before he goes up to the ring, Ric Flair says, hey, unknown. Just remember, these people came for you. Woo! And then he walks out through the tunnel. Tony says, what do you mean by that? Now he's nervous. For 25 minutes, Ric Flair put him over. And of course, he didn't win the title, but he still got over. And he got his biggest payday, I believe. I may be wrong about this pay, but $7,000 just for doing that one match. So hopefully, Tony recovers from his current dilemma, and just praying for him every day. He's a brother, and I love him. The wrestling was great back then, because back then the rules weren't as stringent for that. The camaraderie on the road, the boys, it just made it that much better. Actually, we were a bunch of 10-year-olds that just never grew up. At the end of 1985, Trans World Wrestling was starting, and it was run by Arthur Noy and Jules Strongbow. So when they were looking for wrestlers, I got the call. We were on a road trip. We were going through Maine up into New Brunswick. And the first show was in Presque Isle, Maine. And if you've never been to Presque Isle, Maine, the city itself, lucky.
I've been there many times.
Right?
Coach basketball.
To get there is so easy. You follow 95 north till you see Canadian flags, you take a left, you drive for 2 hours, and when you see the potato farms, they're there. So on long trips, we had a caravan. The boys paired up into cars and vans, and the plan on this trip was to meet at the Portsmouth Circle up on 95. So we still had a 7-hour ride to get to our first town. So we stopped at the liquor store, the Portsmouth Circle, because, you know, it's the 1980s, and we had priorities. So the vehicles were all go together, because in 1985, cell phones didn't exist. There was no GPS. Oh my God. How did we find the buildings? So I was traveling with Wendell Weatherby and his brother. Wendell was a manager. The van in front of us, Tonga Kid was driving the van. All of a sudden, we're on the highway, and the van starts fishtailing all over the place. What the hell's going on up there? So Sam's driving the van. He doesn't have a license anyway. He's probably going to go off the road. Let's stay close. So we get to our first stop and ask Ray Apollo, what the hell happened? Ray was telling Seeker a story about the night he invited Tonga over to his house. His wife made a beef stew, baked a loaf of bread. Tonga never showed up. So while the van is doing 65 down the highway, Seeker comes up behind Tonga, slaps him upside the head. He's a young, grateful bastard. When you're on the road a lot, especially back then, you do all the 24-hour diners work. If you had a good coffee, you were traveling all night long. You know, if you're in Presque Isle and the next day you've got to be down Cape Cod, you're out all night long on that trip. A lot of times, we would stop at buffets because we eat once a day, being on the road. It was cheaper, but you could get a lot more meat. And then you wouldn't be weighed down when you got out to the rink. We were at this one buffet out in Pennsylvania, and Seeker thought it was too much work to go up to the buffet table, fill his plate, and then go back to where he was sitting. So he took his chair and brought it up to the buffet table. And the manager freaks out. He says, "Sir, what are you doing? Is this an all-you-can-eat restaurant?" He says, "Yes, it is." "Well, this is all I can eat." One night I went to talk to Alpha. I had an idea. I get a lot of those. "Pops, I have an idea." So what's that, brother? "I'll grow my hair long, I'll wear a lava, that's a Samoan wrap. I'll wrestle barefoot, and I'll be Tutti Frutti, your white Samoan nephew." He looked at me like I had lost my mind. Without missing a beat, he said, "It's never gonna work." You see, you don't think people would buy that I'm a Samoan? He's nobody's gonna believe my sister has a kid that ugly. Now that was Trans World Wrestling. We were drawing big crowds all over the Northeast, and this was our roster. We had the Wild Samoans, Arthur Seeker, Samoa, Jules Strongbow, Dr. D, David Schultz. If you've seen him on YouTube, he's the guy who slapped John Stossel. Every wrestler loves that one. Is it fake? It's fake. Kurt Von Hess. Now the undercard was myself, Ray Apollo, and you might remember him as Don Clown. Rodney was Kokina. You'd know him better as Yokozuna. Little Sam was Tonga Kid, who later became Tama of the tag team of the Islanders with Haku. Junior was Tonga Kid too, but you'd know him better as Rikishi. Mike Jones was Soul Train Jones, and you'd know him better as the WWF superstar, I have to say it that way, Virgil. Sherry Martel was with us before she was sensational. And a young guy named Jim Nelson, who had recently become a Russian guy named Boris Zerkov. Now that was our roster. The company lasted for about 3 years. And how do you take a successful wrestling company and run it into the ground? You hire a business manager that doesn't know wrestling. And he took us from up here, you know how you look at those Dow Jones things there where they show the arrow going down? Well, if this was the bottom, he kept going here. And back then, it was hard because places just weren't drawing very well. So you got your bookings wherever you got them. One night you get a call from Rudy Diamond. So what are you doing the next couple of days? So I took the next few days off, just gonna go to the gym. So I want to go to Puerto Rico? What's in Puerto Rico? So we're gonna wrestle. Oh, it's Carlos Colon. Has Carlos called you? No, Victor Genonis called me. He said, if you want to go, tomorrow morning meet me at Boston Logan Airport, 6 a.m. We'll go to Puerto Rico. And how many times, especially American guys, you make that last second decision, I'm in, right? 6 o'clock in the morning, we're on our way down to Puerto Rico. Now, if you talk to Rudy, you'd think he's dumb as a stump. He just didn't sound like he had any intelligence. This guy was smart. He could speak 5 languages, which was great because when I was in Quebec, I couldn't speak French and Rudy would translate. Because we're now in Puerto Rico and he's talking for all of us. So fantastic. So I wrestled 4 times down there. I wrestled Miguelito Perez, Hurricane Castillo, the medic, who was Jose Estrada in New York, and the Rock and Roll RPMs, Tommy Lane and Mike Davis. Just before my match with the medic, Chicky Star came to the side of the ring and shook my hand. Up until that point, I had no idea who the hell Chicky Star was. I found out quick who Chicky Star was. I got pelted all kinds of trash just for shaking his hand. On the tag match, I teamed with Ron Shaw. Everybody remember Ron Shaw? That they call it the Phantom match when David Sammartino just submitted. And I'm with Ron on this. No, he just squeezed it out. David didn't just jog out. But for some reason now we're on WWC Classics video. We have no idea why. We just did a tag match. We did what we would have done here. But for some reason they put us on the Classics video. Now what you don't see on the video is at the end of the match, when I'm laying on the mat, Ron comes in and says, don't sell it. They meet us on TV. He's looking around the ring. People surrounded the ring and they weren't going to let us out. Yeah, a little scary. So I saw 6 cops on the side of the ring. That's Ron, get between the cops. So we went down, we got between the cops, they got us back to the dressing room. And it's hot. And I was telling Alex Rady about this. It's stinking hot in Puerto Rico, especially in June. My tights were stuck to me. And I'm trying to get them off so I can get in the shower. I can't even get my singlet off. This is ridiculous. So I had to get my singlet into the shower, put it on as cold as I could. Before I get in there, Ron says, you have to take a shower, right? I said, yeah. So this girl in the dressing room. Now, in Puerto Rico, it's a deal characteristic. The girls share the dressing room with the guys. It's the guys, walk with me. Hello, it's hot. We're in Puerto Rico. I'm taking a stinking shower. I don't care. And I didn't realize she was like 2 seats away from me when I said it. I still don't care. So we were getting ready to leave Puerto Rico, and that night I called home. Told my wife, my flight is tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, direct San Juan to Boston. So what time are you gonna be home? Probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. And all I heard was, that's great. So I'm stuck with the kids all day by myself. So of course, I can't let somebody get over on me. I said, what would you like me to do? I'm in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I could go to the dock and jump in and swim to Miami, but I think waiting for the plane might be a better option. And this is a lesson for all you trainees. If you call home from the road, your wife is upset because you're not getting home until later than you said you were getting home, just shut up. Don't say anything. Your response to anything like that is, Yes, dear.
Yeah.
I actually went to Victor Canonis and asked him if he would switch the flights, and he did. He got me a 7 a.m. flight with a 2-hour layover in Newark. Rudy didn't want to make the switch because it was going to cost $20. We're going to spend $20 in San Juan. Let's just go home. So we get to Newark. We got a 2-hour layover. There's nothing to do. Then Rudy, let's go take a walk downtown. He said, "You nuts? I'm black. I won't go walking downtown Newark." Well, so I changed the Muldoon character again, coming into the 90s. It's what everybody knows now as the New York City Cop. In the 90s, I was working in pro wrestling. This is what Derek is talking about. We ran Massachusetts, Maine, Connecticut. I was the tag champion. I was also the New England heavyweight champion. So I had to drop one of the belts, so I decided that the New England heavyweight championship had to go because it's better that I stay with Rick in the tag team because we seem to be over a little bit stronger. So I dropped the belt to Rick Morrison. I don't know if any of you know him. Rick was the Boston Bulldog. And 2 weeks later, Rick blew out his ankle. So I asked him, well, what do you want to do? He said, I got to drop the belt. Well, do you have somebody picked up you want to drop it to? He said, you. So I can't take the belt back. Now I get 2 belts again. That's crazy. We can't book all the matches where we want to. He said, you want to be a heel? Just turn heel. Okay. So I put on a mask and went out as Dr. Death, and I beat Rick Morrison. And as they're announcing the winner, I pulled my mask off. And you could hear the silence of this crowd. Big City comes to the ring. It's, what are you doing with him? I took the title belt and whacked it upside his head. Now the people are like, what are you doing? Big City was my best friend. Everybody knew that. He was the best man at my wedding. In fact, the only reason he was best man at my wedding, I called him up and said, hey, you want to go to Niagara Falls? He said, what are you going to do? So I'm going to get married. You are not. Yeah, I'm going to get married. He went because he didn't believe I was going to get married. He became my best man. And everybody knew this. So now me attacking him was like instant hate. It was unbelievable to turn. And all of a sudden, I'm a heel. So I have the belt, and I'm refusing to defend the belt. And if you look on the table, there's some letters. I was wrestling Eric Watts. There was Cowboy Bill Watts song. Acts from Demolition. Perry Saturn. One night, Perry broke my nose in the first 30 seconds of a match. The referee asked me if I wanted to stop. I said no. We went 15 more minutes, and blood just kept gushing out of my nose. But in my mind, if I show the boys in the dressing room that I'm not going to stop, then what happens to them, they're not going to be a bunch of crybabies who come back to me. But oh, Sarge, look what they did to me. I'm not serious. I appreciate that. Toughen up. I appreciate that lesson. So back then, pulling ribs was a big thing. And when you pull ribs, it's a practical joke. Rick's girlfriend, Marianne, had a son, Chris. He wanted to be a wrestler. So I helped him get ready for it. We're up in Bridgeton, Maine. And he had his first match. But apparently, either his blood pressure went up or it was a lot of anxiety. He had a headache. But I didn't have Tylenol. But I had these water pills called Lasix. And they call it that because it lasts 6 hours. And so what I did is, Chris, here, take 2 of these. It's not Tylenol, but it's better than Tylenol. And drink a lot of water. So, on the way home, he's riding in the ring truck. And Rick's stopping like every 5-10 minutes. What the hell is wrong with you? Couldn't figure out what was going on. Next day, Rick calls me up and said, did you give Chris one of those water pills? I said, absolutely not. I didn't give one of those water pills. And I wasn't lying, because I gave you 2 of those water pills. We worked together together filming at Salisbury Beach. That's a good gimmick. That's a good. But now they all know it, so you gotta wait for the next crowd to come along. We got the building at the Champs Arena. But we were running, as Derek said, Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sunday afternoons. And I wasn't defending my belt. I was just refusing. It's always non-title. I'd lose the match and people, oh, you're afraid to defend your belt. But I just grabbed that title belt at the end, so I'm still your champion. Just piss off everybody and leave. Tony Alex called me out one. He says, Sarge, if I get 1,000 people to write in and ask you to defend your belt, would you defend your belt? With the Atlas, you couldn't find 1,000 people on this beach that know how to write. Never mind 100 that know how to write a letter. If you get that number, I'll give you a title match. So we put a box at the front door. The next week, it was full of letters. I actually kept some of the letters and brought them in. The hate was unbelievable. So now after I did my little thing with Tony Atlas, that wasn't a racist thing that, that wasn't. That was just a cop teaching a lesson. That's all that was. He wouldn't stay down.
Topical storytelling.
Okay, now I lost my place. See what it did? So we had that little bar down there, the dugout. And we go down and we sing karaoke. Now we would have a bloody match in the ring. And after the show, we'd go to the dugout and we're side by side singing Friends in Low Places with bandages on our head. And everybody had a beer and everybody was having a good time. Now by the 1990s though, I had already been 20 years in the wrestling business. My body was broken. And I needed to get some replacement parts. So I stepped away from the business. I knew I didn't have what it took to get into WWF anymore. It wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going back. So I stepped away. A few years later, I went to Killer Kowalski's funeral. And saw a lot of the guys I knew from the International Wrestling Federation and WWF. It was good to be around the boys again. And started making some connections again. And you don't realize how much you miss something until it's not there anymore. And I never intended to come back into this business. I was just as content growing my vegetables, keeping my garden nice. But in 2011, I was inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I should have taken my plaque and gone home and been happy with that. But wrestling and being a wrestler is like being a coke addict. You get a taste of it and you want more. They're going to find me in the pro wrestling wing of the Betty Ford Clinic. So no, stop, but just keep talking, man. So in 2011, I met a guy down in Providence. His name is Chris Blackhammer. And up to that point, I didn't know who Chris Blackhart was. But as soon as I found out he trained with Kowalski, I said, okay, that's good enough for me. And then we were down in Plainville, and he asked me to come to Woonsocket, to a wrestling school he had, to help train some of the young kids. So I said, oh, okay, I'll think about it. It might be a good opportunity to get back into the business without really being in the business. But at that same show, I met a young wrestler. And he told me that he and his cousin were working on an idea for a tag team. And they thought, or he thought, that I would be a good fit as their manager. That tag team turned out to be the Convicts. Yeah. This is going to be the first time in pro wrestling that a cop and his prisoners were going to be going to the ring. Brought them out with chains and handcuffs, and the jaws would drop when we come to the ring. The fact that I cheated with them, well, I'm a dirty cop. Oops. They wore black masks, orange suits, And this is just a dirty little secret about the convicts. They were both prison guards. The girl that was the second cop in the tag team, Diana Meehan, she was also a prison guard. If you look on their backs, back of their tights, it says DOC and had numbers. Well, of course, DOC is Department of Corrections. The numbers were their birthdays. And under those masks, the sensational Scott Levesque was coming And that, to tell you, Tony, man, that was one of the best tag teams I've ever been a part of. And thank you for that. Now I started coming up to work with Chris, and I'm doing the managing with the convicts, and I'm helping Chris with some of the promotion, and training the kids, and teaching them old school wrestling. We kind of punch each other in the face without actually taking a nose off, you know. How to drop across a guy, although for Breeze, that wasn't my doing. He went to do a double leg drop and he sat in the kid's face and busted the
Poor Blair. Poor Blair.
We think Carnival for that name.
That was my name.
So, you know, everything that goes up in wrestling has to come down somewhere. And I knew the convicts were coming to an end. So I got more into an announcing role. And in Showcase, what we would do is, in Woonsocket, we had a little area we called the lockdown. There was like a cage, and I would do the interviews there. Well, on this one night, I didn't do the interview there. I went up into the ring to interview the high-class cartel. Rich Bass was their manager. If anybody remembers the high-class cartel, they were huge individuals. I think Jerome was 6'10", something like that, well over 400 pounds. Derek Nally was.
Derek.
Just a little boy. And Matt West. And Matt had to go a good 330, probably. So I'm staring at them, and Rich Bass says, "Hey, stare at me." So I look at him, and then I'm watching the guys walk around. And Bass says it again, but this time he kicks me, and when I bend forward, he breaks the clipboard over my head. So I go down. Well, up to this point, the people in Showcase hadn't seen me wrestle or do anything in the ring besides announce or manage. So I come up bloody. Wrestlers came out of the dressing room, they cleared the ring. Blackhawk gets in front of me, and he says, "Are you ready?" Now I can hear people crying in the crowd. That's how much emotion we were pulling out of this audience. And I said, "Yeah, I'm ready." I grabbed the front of my shirt and I ripped it open. I said, "I'm gonna frickin' kill." I didn't say frickin', kill him. And the feud was on. Now in August in Woonsocket, anybody who's wrestled in Woonsocket in August knows that building is hot. It is stinking hot. And we're starting to feud in August. So I'm going up against Redemption. And he says to me downstairs, "What do you want to do?" "Nothing." "It's hot. I'm old. You're fat." We worked a bear hike for 7 minutes. All right. One night got over. And we had drawn so many people into Woonsocket that we thought we were going to get shut down. At that time, we had 2 rings. And we had kids sitting up in the training ring, just so that we could fit everybody in. Well, back then, too, I would take kids on road trips. We'd go out to work for Samu out in Pennsylvania. And this one road trip, I had Scott Ledur and Annabelle, Carla Slater. And a referee named Zach. Not the referee Zach we have now, just with another guy. Allentown's a long ride. It's about 5 to 6 hours. So as we're leaving the building, and our kids did fantastic. Stole the show. So I'm very proud of the guys we have. We're leaving. I said, okay, I got to reward these kids somehow. So I see a Waffle House. Oh, yeah. And I said, okay, who's been to a Waffle House? Not one of them had been to a Waffle House. Can you, in this day and age, how could that even happen, right? So I took them to Waffle House.
Yeah.
Scott made, yes, Scott, you made an ass out of yourself.
I don't care who I go back. I can't do it.
That's what you just said.
It's like Scott's here with us.
Oh my God.
He's here with us this morning.
Oh, no wonder why nobody's lying. Might help if I even go to the right page. Anyway, on the way back, we were doing carpool karaoke to stay awake. The guy riding shotgun, Zach, is supposed to stay awake, but he's falling asleep in the passenger seat. So we figured if we sing loud enough, we'll keep him awake. There's nothing like doing a cha-cha shuffle on Route 95 while you're driving and scaring the hell out of everybody else in the passenger. Then Scott starts singing backstory. If you want to know what torture is, ride in the car with Scott Ladern while he's singing Backstreet Boys.
And there.
It's unbelievable. In 2017, I got inducted into my second Hall of Fame, and that was for the International Wrestling Federation. And that one was really special to me because in the IWF, we considered each other family. We were brothers and sisters. And we treated each other that way. And I tried to bring that same scenario to Showcase when I came in. We're a family. We look out for each other. When we're on road trips, we look out for each other. When we're on shows, we look out for each other. And it really resonates. However, in Showcase, we really are family. And that smiling face you see as you come through the door at the ticket table, that's Chris Blackheart's wife, Kathy. I can see that smile from here. Videographer who makes us look good and switches out the microphones when they die, that's Julio. And the photographer that you see around the ring, who's here tonight, is my daughter Pam. Well, over the years, I did a handful of matches for Showcase, and I never really wanted to do a lot. So whatever we did would be meaningful. But age has a funny way of catching up with you. And abusing your body for decades takes its toll. But I still train the wrestlers, still go down to Woonsocket. We have a great group of guys.
We love you, Sarge.
If these people making strides, they're going to be the stars of tomorrow. If I can actually get them to go to a buffet and eat something. But it really feels good, it's rewarding to give back and to step into the shoes of Killer Kowalski and what he did when he retired from wrestling and he gave back to the young kids to make those dreams come true. And at some of our events, kids have come up to me at the end of the show, because a lot of times I can taunt me. I'll stay at the doors, people are leaving and thank them for coming out. The kid will ask me, did you wrestle The Rock? No, I wrestled his dad. Did you wrestle Jimmy and Jay Uso? No, I wrestled their dad. Did you wrestle John Cena? No, I worked with his dad. Now, it's often said in wrestling, it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. And I consider myself one of the luckiest people in wrestling. I was in the right place at the right time. I managed to mix my home family with my wrestling family. I got to live the dream of a 10-year-old watching championship wrestling on Saturday morning. And I'm very humbled by being one of the inductees into this year's first Hall of Fame. And also to share this night, a victorious night. Yeah. Whether we were opponents or we were on the same team, nothing but respect. Jay Rumble, the nights we did shows for you, and I wish you had started 10 years earlier, because we would have done some fantastic things.
Would have torn the place down, brother.
Of course, my brother from another mother, Osiris, thank you for inducting Uncle Walter. And the person who was lucky enough and had the honor to come up here and accept the award for Walter, the beautiful sister from the International Wrestling Federation, Brittany Brown. So I just want to raise a glass, but I'm drinking, so I'm not gonna blow. I want to raise it as a toast to Kelly Kowalski, Vince McMahon Sr., Arthur Anoy Sr., Chris Blackheart, my mom who is here tonight, and wondering, where did I go wrong? And of course, the most important people, the fans. Because without the fans, not any of this could have been made possible. And whether you booed me or you cheered me, I love each and every one of you, and thank you very much.
All right, Sergeant Muldoon. Good thing we didn't live stream that speech. Our final inductee tonight is a man who became one of the most recognizable competitors on the New England independent wrestling circuit. A performer who built his reputation the way so many great independent wrestlers do, through hard work, through consistency, and dedication to entertaining the fans night after night. Throughout their career, they competed across the regional wrestling scene, including here at Showcase Pro Wrestling, where he helped establish the standard for what it meant to be a professional inside an SPW ring when they became the first ever Showcase Pro Wrestling champion. However, their accomplishments extend far beyond a single promotion. During his career, he also captured the Power League Wrestling New England Championship, holding that title for an incredible 966 days, one of the longest championship reigns in the history of that organization and New England wrestling. A reign like that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because a wrestler proves time and time again that they belong in that spot. For years, he represented the grit and determination that defines the New England independent scene, sharing the ring with some of the region's best competitors and leaving a lasting mark on the promotions he has competed in. Tonight, we honor a wrestler whose career helped shape the independent wrestling landscape in our region and became a cornerstone of the SPW roster. So please help me in welcoming this Hall of Famers presenter for the evening, Garrett Sawaya.
I am so stoked to be here right now. It's been a long time since I've seen a lot of these faces. Jay Rumble. Guys, a couple months ago, I got a phone call from you guys know as Nicholas Knight. I know him as Phil. He called me and said, listen, I'm going to be inducted into the first ever Showcase Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I want you to induct me. Now, he could have asked anybody that he's worked with through his career, but he asked me because I've been there with him since day one. So I met Phil in 1999, and we wrestled in Backyard Pro Wrestling Federation. That's what we did in 1999 for backyard wrestlers. That was the thing for teenagers to do back in the late 90s. And we were on public access television. We were then kind of found and spotted by independent wrestlers. And we were asked to train at the facilities. Kyle Storm was one of those people. TJ Richter was another one of those people. And they brought us in and wanted to train us to do things the right way. And at that time, I was a teenager. We were both teenagers. And I said, wait, I gotta go to college, I gotta work. And he says, no, I'm gonna continue to do this. So that was the path that he took at that time. And we remained close friends. And I used to go to all the shows to watch him in his rookie year. And he was Rookie of the Year. He did hold championships. And at that time, he was known as Kurt Michaels, was the original Nicholas Knight. And he started doing good. He started talking. He, like Jay Rumble said, when you have a young upstart coming up that has the grit, he was one of those guys and people saw it. And he then changed his name. If you knew him, if you knew Phil in his 20s, very different person than he is now. He was Nick Narcissistic, and that was him 24/7 at that time. And he was going all over the place in the independents. And again, I was there with him in the audience watching him. And again, he had great feuds with Jason Rumble. And at that time, he felt that he needed to improve himself. And he said, you know what, I'm going to move down to Florida and continue this dream. And that he did. He moved down to Florida. And on spring break, when I was in college, we went down there to see him work. And I remember a funny story, too. He actually did some stuff with TNA back in the day. So they had a pay-per-view going on there. So we went down there. We got front row seats to the TNA event because they knew him because he had worked for them for some dark matches and stuff like that, and some tapings. And after the pay-per-view, we went to a bar, went to a restaurant. And who's sitting in there? It's myself. It was a girl. I don't remember who that was. It was Phil. And it was AJ Styles sitting at this booth. And we had dinner together. And this was early 2000s. AJ was kind of up and coming at the time of TNA. And it was a great night. And AJ had this big infatuation with my belt. I had like a cool belt on that he really wanted. And I was like, well, what am I going to have? So I never ended up giving to him. I do wish now I did, but I did not at the time. But anyway, he learned his craft down there, and he moved back up here, and he was a different person when he came back up here. He was not the same kid that left and went down to Florida. He came back, he looked different, he acted different. So if you knew the Phil before he left for Florida and he came back, totally different people. And at that time, he started working again, big feuds with Jason Rumble as well, that really kind of put himself on the map. And in 2000, I think it was 2008, he came back to me and he said, listen, like, I want to get you back in this. I want to get you involved. Showcase Pro Wrestling is up and coming now. They have a brand new school. And lucky enough, I was one of the first students in the Showcase Pro Wrestling Training Center in 2008. And my trainers were Nicholas Knight, Don Vega was another one of the trainers at the time. Kevin Charisma, Hugo was another trainer at the time. And we did some work in the Indies for a little bit of time. And again, unfortunately for me, it didn't pan out. But for him, he continued to go on. And now we are here at the first ever Showcase Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And my buddy, my brother, Nicholas Knight, is going to be the first inductee and the first Showcase Pro Wrestling champion. And man, I am so honored to be here. Like I said before, if it wasn't working as a tag team, asking me to be a manager, working against each other, he always included me in everything. And that's exactly why I'm here tonight. I am included in this monumental moment to induct my brother, Phil, AKA Nicholas Knight.
Inside this soul, screaming
And it has been way too long to feel that. I can't even tell you what that feels like right now. I'm about to cry. That feeling that drives us. That feeling to just get inside of you. And what you do with that energy and how you take it and how you project it into this world, man, it has been too long. COVID messed up so much damn things in this world. And last time I laced those boots was COVID. So I'm not saying they've been in the center of the ring yet. More to come. But I'm not here to talk 45, 50 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. I am here to take a good 10 to 15 minutes. I have a story. And the story is more of a life movie. We have our ups, we have our downs, we have our peaks, and we have our valleys. And it's all about a trend that I've noticed tonight from people. We've heard a lot of the same words. Family, brother, cocaine. It's some other stuff, okay? So I'm gonna walk you through my journey. And it's more about the people that have touched me, inspired me. And I've been lucky enough to be a part of their journey through this thing we call life. So I'm gonna dive into it. Are we ready for this?
Yeah.
No. Are we ready for this? Alright. There's always a rule, you never touch the microphone, number one, when it's on a podium. Why is that? Get where I'm going. So, before the championships, before the road trips, before the battles, many of you can remember, we're all just kids, right? Like young boys, they dream big, they dream large. They did not know what was going to happen. But it's the energy through all that time when you're a kid, when life's taking you, you're figuring out what you're going to do along this journey. And I knew something was different. I come from a big family. I have 6 sisters, and I'm the only boy. And I love you. So when I was a kid, TV time wasn't really allowed for me. I was not blessed. It was General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Ricky Lake, I don't even know the other stuff, right? But I had time Saturdays and Sundays mornings. Well, being born in the early 80s, you know what it was in the 90s. It was All American Wrestling, Saturday with Bobby the Brain Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon in the studio. And then you had some other programs. Can't remember that much because it's been some time. But I remember just turning on the TV one day. Can't remember what it was, what I saw. You couldn't pull me away from the TV. It was something that I thought was amazing. So what happened? Started watching more wrestling throughout the time. Begging my sisters, please, just give me 5 minutes. Like, I want to watch Monday at 8 o'clock. I want to watch it, right? Begging them. Like, I'll take up the trash. You don't have to do the dishes, right? That's how much I knew it meant to me. And I remember being a young boy, I think 12, 13 years old, going back to WrestleMania. Now, being a boy back then, again, internet, it was starting there, but it wasn't super crazy. There were no cheat sheets, there was no dirt sheets. And it was all about what we saw on the TV. It was real. It was real to us. It's real today. Because you can't tell someone that has had over 15 concussions in 20 years, this shit ain't real. Busted eyes, right? We can go through the battles and the bruises. But let me tell you, that one time, I remember I begged my dad for $30, please let me order this pay-per-view. Been watching this guy, Shawn Michaels, battle all these demons, work hard, right? And he's finally got his chance to go to WrestleMania and face Bret the Hitman Hart in an Iron Man match. And I know this story doesn't touch me today. I know a lot of you have a part of this too. And I just remember watching that, sitting there. I was sitting in front of that TV, Indian style. My legs were crossed. I was right there. Like, it was this close. And I'm watching this. It's going by. And I am in amazement. I think I had to go to the bathroom for almost an hour. I wasn't leaving that TV. Well, anyways, the match ended. We all know how it ended in the draw. We're like, wait a second. No, they continued it. All of a sudden, Michaels came around, boot, hit Bret Hart with that super kick, and then it was that. 1, 2, 3. I can still remember that feeling. I felt my belly today. As a young boy, I started crying because I was so excited and I could see the passion in his eyes and everything he worked for, and it came to fruition. And that has stuck more with me to this day than I can ever imagine. And I said, there's one day I'm going to go and do that. Don't know how, don't know when, I'll figure it out, but I'm going to make that happen. And that's what I did, right? So. Which leads me to a couple of my buddies that are here today, and to the gentleman, Garrett, that inducted me. But I wanted to talk about this. I'm in high school, it's roughly, I think it's our junior year, maybe. I'm a quiet kid, I'm small, I don't talk that much, whatever, super shy. I had a horrible stutter, if anyone remembers back in the day. They'd always say, today, junior, come on, get it out, right? Oh, it was horrible. Kids were brutal, you know how it was. So you didn't have confidence when, stuff like that happened. But my passion was wrestling. And I met a couple of cool guys just BSing around. Then all of a sudden one day, Mike comes up to me, 30 over there in the back, comes up to me and he's like, hey, we're going to go to a local wrestling event. Do you want to go? And I was like, oh yeah, WWF's in town. And he goes, no, this is like local independent wrestling. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I was like pretending like I knew what it was, but I didn't know. I was like, oh yeah, let's go. So I remember we get in the car, we go down to Pawtucket. We're at the Botton Street Gym. If anyone remembers that, yeah, you remember that place. I remember sitting down, paying my $5, $10 for my seat, sitting down with my buddies, and I start watching the show. Within 3 seconds, I'm like, oh, I'm starting training. I'm going to figure out what I have to do. I am going to get in this ring. And I just sat there with an amazement. There's not a lot of people that stuck out with me, but there's one guy, his name was Ebony Blade. And Chris Blackheart was also on that card that night, too, if you remember. I got another story. I had a lot of good stories about, well, I had 10, but I'm going to shrink it down to 3. So, I had a lot of stories. But it was amazing. So the people that you saw, it was just amazing. The reactions, everything. I saw them do, the moves, why they were doing it. Because I'm sitting there, I'm like, hey, they're doing this, doing that. Okay, this guy crap. Like, all these little things. I'm like, there's an art. There's a science to this. He's looking into the crowd. He's screaming with pain. I make eye contact with him. And it was just like, and I could see what they were trying to project. And I'm just like, this is amazing. I gotta figure this out. So let's fast forward. The show is over. I remember going right up to Mr. Anthony Russo. God rest his soul, that man. I said it. How do I sign up? What do I do? And he goes, be here Monday and be here with $20 in your pocket. I said, yes, sir, no problem. Monday, I remember I couldn't even go to sleep Sunday night. That's how excited I was to start that Monday. So I remember getting in there in my 1986 Plymouth Horizon with 12 subwoofers in the back and a flat wall. If you ever remember that back in the day, you could hear me coming from 3 miles away bumping. Pulled in, thinking like, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to learn how to wrestle today. Awesome. Woo. Hey, go in, do my thing. Say hi to some people, sit right down. Other guys start coming in the room. I'm just sitting there. Hi. All nervous, not sure what to do. And then Anthony came over to me. He goes, okay, first thing you learn in this business is you go up and you shake everyone's hand and you look them in the eyes. I'm like, yes, sir. And he goes, then when you're done, you go sit down and sit until we're ready to start training. It's exactly what I did. I remember that lesson to this day. And there were some tough characters that trained back in that day, because you've heard it from everyone tonight. The new shiny penny comes in. Is this kid going to take your spot? Is this going to happen? I've been here. This is the time I put in. Oh, I remember hopping in there, and I mean, within 5 minutes in my head, I'm like, what am I doing? But the pain kept on driving me to get more and more because of the whys and the whys behind it. And that stuck, man. Let me tell you, I started training. Whenever there was an opportunity, I was training in that ring, asking 1,000 questions. Guys got more annoyed with me because I'm like, well, why? Why do you do this? Well, if you do this, then this happens. Why does this happen, right? I wanted to learn the psychology behind wrestling. I wanted to learn everything I could do, so I knew when it was my time to go out there, I can make that kid cry. I can make that kid cheer me. I can make that parent want to put me off when I'm walking out the ring, right? I can make someone so mad they keyed my car. Time out. I'm gonna go to that story in a little bit. Okay? But it was all about these opportunities that were presented in that short time of training, and that couldn't have been done without the guys from my high school, my brothers today. It has been absolutely amazing. Mike, thank you for that opportunity, telling me to go, right? Let's go do this. And look what that led to, my man. And again, I just can't thank you. That friendship was awesome. You heard it from Garrett. It was the first 4 trainees was Garrett Sawaya, Michael Derbyshire, okay? We had Eli who did where did you go? He's over there. He started training a little bit. And then this other gentleman, Mike. Yeah, people come and go, stuff happens. But Mike was able to have his first professional match. He used to come out as the candy man and come out with a top cap, walks out, take the candy, go up to the kids and throw the candy to the kids and go up and give it to them. Well, today, I don't know how appropriate that would be giving little kids candy, telling them to get in the ring with you. Just like, oh, man. So, and then Garrett, Jamie Starr, that was his working name. We had a short time. We had our first match, professional match at PLW Wrestling. And I still watch that match to this day. Why? Because these 2 guys I was able to do something with my bond from high school, beat down in the training center, get beat up, and go and finally do it in the ring with the guys I loved. It was the most amazing feeling, and it was something I'm always charged to this day, and I want you guys to know that, so thank you so much. So, things are going good early in the career, right? And you kind of heard some people say some things about me today, and I'm going to be a humble person and talk about it. I wasn't the best person in my 20s, right? We all go through life, and if my wife would agree with me today, I believe I'm kind of like wine, with time I age, a little bit better, and I'm a little bit better. Sure. Yeah, sure. But it's all about the people that influence you. Short in my career, things are going good. I'm working out full time. Yeah, it was the late 90s, early 2000s. So what was in? NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, right? So I had these blonde tips, baby, all spiked up. Because that's what you do. That's why you had to be a boy band. And then, yes, there was 1 week that I had this name, Kurt Vikings. I just want to point that out. It was like 1 short week. And I don't remember how, but I just remember I met Jason. And I got invited to go up to NWA New England and do a TV taping at the Muldoon TV studios. Melrose. I knew it started with an M.
Same vicinity.
Same thing. Again, thinking I'm a hot chick, right? I'm in my early 20s, pretty ripped. Got the nipple tat. I had no joint nipple tat. I had my piercings, okay? I got my long gear. I'm feeling good. I walk in there like, this is going to be amazing. Awesome. Sitting down, meeting the guys, okay? I remember Bo Douglas, Jay coming over. Mike, you came over. Where's Mike? Yeah, no worries. Mike coming over, all right? We're just BSing. Okay, Phil, we're going to have you do this. I'm like, oh, awesome, absolutely. So I remember I go out there in the first match. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the hell? He has me an abdominal stretch, and he has my leg, and he's tight, and he's holding me here, and he's doing this and doing that. And I was in that abdominal stretch, I think, for a good 3 minutes. You know what was happening to me? John said it earlier. I got stretched. No idea why, honestly, in my head, whatsoever. All right, the match is done. I go in the back. I'm like, what the heck, bro? That's how I was talking. Not much respect there. And I'm telling you, Bo Douglas pulled me aside and he said, do you want to know why that happened to you? And I have it, and I remember it exactly, right? He blatantly said to me, in wrestling, talent may get you noticed, but respect earns you a place in this locker room. And that lesson stayed with me forever.
I
The only story we got to say in the beginning of that was when they said, okay, what's your working name, kid? And I was like, Kurt Michaels. And Jay goes, nah, brother, That is not gonna work. I can't even do it right now. My throat's dying. It's not gonna work. He goes, give me 10 minutes. He leaves, he comes back.
I probably was joking like that because I probably had some smoke in my lungs.
Well, that story's coming up in a second. Our first road trip together. Finds a mirror in the back, comes over. Your kid narcissistic. I want you to look at this mirror, talk to this mirror. I want you to take that gimmick and I want you to full-fledged immerse yourself into it. I'm like, okay, I can do that. So I had the gimmick, it was awesome, things are going well. Well, 5 months down the road, we're up in Muldoon Gym.
Yeah.
Muldoon Gym, working Zach Mason for the NWA New England Light Heavyweight Championship. Doing our stuff, going through. You put me over and you gave me my first ever strap. And I thought that was one of the most amazing things because of the trust that you put in me in those first 6 months and where I started and how I started to progress. You saw something, Jay. And that is something I can never, ever repay you for, brother. You have such a close part in my heart. And man, I just thank you for everything. Man, let's go a little deeper. Going back in my SCCW days, still extremely green, working. We had a match outside. It was at a diabetes camp. Now you remember, Richie, I told him earlier, I had a story you probably never ever could remember. All right, so Steve Ricard comes up to me, you're working Don Vega, you got 5 minutes, this is the match, boom, boom, boom. Then go up to Richie, we start talking, we do our stuff, we go out there. The finish was a pop-up powerbomb. He's like, you know how to take it? I'm like, absolutely. I didn't really, but I was just went with it. I knew I had to jump high. Well, anyway, fast forward, we go through that match, whips me off the roof, I duck. Man, you threw me so high in that air. I could see me coming down. I'm like, oh, this is how I die. Didn't happen. What did you do as the professional you are, Richie? You caught me, we went down, you got the 1, 2, 3. It was absolutely amazing. I go to the ring, I sell. The story doesn't stop there. What does Richie do? He runs out to the back. He grabs a candy bar. 2 or 3 candy bars. I'm like, what is he doing? I'm on the ground, like, oh. He starts eating the candy bars in front of the kids and the parents. Oh, that's your hero right there. Well, after I just whooped his butt, I'm gonna enjoy this. I came with a baby with a Butterfinger. I don't know what it was, but you started eating those candy bars. Kids are crying, screaming, parents are yelling. I hear Steve Ricard through the back. What the hell is he doing? But that moment right there, Richie, I'm telling you, man, that moment right there, brother, I learned from you something. If you wanted to learn how to get heat, that is how you do it. You don't let anything get in your way. People told you no. Sorry, promoters in the room. But what you did there, man, it taught me such a lesson, and that stayed with me for my life. Jay, I'm coming back to you, my man. I have to tell this story. So, we talked about the NWA days earlier, and it's kind of paramount. It's kind of a big deal how I think about this, because you heard Jay say it earlier, that the NWA New England gym was 2 doors down from the SPW training center today. Well, I was working out hardcore, Jay was working out hardcore, right? Because that's all we did, right? We had to look good in front of the crowd. Well, I can't remember who came up with the idea one day, but Jay's like, hey, brother, we're going to do a pose down match. And I'm like, what's a pose down match? He goes, you know, like what bodybuilders do? And I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing. We're going to come out, we're going to do poses, right? Then at the end, you know, I'm going to attack you because the fans love you and blah, 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 blah. But that's what we're going to do. Cool. Well, anyways, we have this idea. You all know some people like the hot stuff. Some people put on some butter, put on some Pam, right? Well, we had a whole thing of baby oil. And let me tell you, we did not use that lightly. And I mean, it was like, Hey, brother, can you get my back? I got your back. Yeah, we were covered with baby oil. So fast forward, music hits, we both go out, we're in the ring, we're doing our poses. All of a sudden, okay, boom, like now it was like a cheered crown for the winner. Jay went first, got a good pop. I went because I was the face. Got the big pop, boom, where does he come? Bit me from behind. He bips me, he slips. Now he gets on top of me, and we're supposed to be rolling around. We seriously look like two wet sails on the ice. It was horrible. It was funny. It was amazing. What is such a bad idea? But who cares? But that's the out of the box thinking we had that night. We had fun. It was amazing. And oh yeah, add a little bit more, humility to this. Well, as you know, I'm only 5'6". I also had the idea to come out with platform boots on that I bought from Hot Topic. So imagine that, and then I come out to the ring and I made sure I had a bathrobe on too. And it was these platform boots. But anyways, man, let me tell you, that was one of the best, funniest matches I've ever had. And Jay, it was a pleasure doing it with you. But the story I want to tell, you heard Jay say it. You heard him say it. You like to participate a little bit, right? Well, mate, never did it in my 20s whatsoever. So I remember he called me up one day, hey brother, we got a great opportunity. I want to bring you up to Maine. There's this guy, Luke. He was on Tough Enough. Can't remember Luke's last name, Wolfpack Fitness. Robinson, yep. Luke Robinson. He's like, want to bring you up. We're going to do a couple shows over the weekend. We're going to stay at his place. He's like a fitness instructor. He was also a male stripper. This guy was a crazy guy. But anyways, it's like, we're going to go do this. Like, absolutely. I've never been on a boys trip for wrestling ever. So I just want to point that out. So in my head, like all week, I'm pumped up, ready to go. So we go Friday. I leave where I lived. I go pick up Jay. It was me, you. Was it Chris Capelli? Or was it just me and you and then Luke?
Me and you.
Yeah. It's like, I can't remember. But I remember Jay saying, hey brother, do you mind if I smoke? And I'm like, no worries. I don't care. You can smoke in my car, whatever. Just roll down the windows. Again, I've never smoked. Didn't really know what it smelled like. I saw it on TV. No idea what was about to happen to me. Well, anyways, all of a sudden the windows come down. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 5, there's 10. It was about a 3-hour drive. Man, let me tell you, I definitely had the munchies that night. But that was a ride up. But it was what happened that weekend, Jay. Right? You brought me into your little family, giving me an opportunity, and it was amazing. I got to work you, got to work Luke within those 2 shows. But what we did during the day around just BSing, getting to know each other, that is truly when I learned what the definition of what brother meant. And Jason, I thank you for that. So fast forward a little bit more. Go down to Florida. I moved. Go down to Florida. Start working there. I worked for CCW. I got to learn from the best people: Norman Smiley, Antonio Banks, MVP for WWE name, Gangrel, Phi Delta Slam. Bruno Sassi. You had Chains and A-Ball. You had just so much talent down there in Plantation, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And it was like, I was just so blessed to be around all these brains and all these minds that could teach you and just show you all these things when you got in the ring with them. And it just kept on opening my eyes, but it kept on motivating me more. Because again, I told you earlier, I'm a very curious person. I want to know how things work, why it happens, how it forms that way. Again, the psychology of wrestling. Why we do this. If we do this, this should happen, then this should happen, then this from here, and this is how long this is going to take, right? You get what I'm saying with this. So all that education that they gave me was just something that truly kept on driving me. Things went pretty well down there, but you never know who you bump in today. Is they ask you're going to have to kiss it tomorrow, right? That's life for you. I was in a match. Anyone know Alex Portel? You remember him? He was a pug.
I worked with him.
Yeah. How'd that go, Jay?
Oh, it was tight.
There we go. Yes, it definitely was tight. Well, here comes me. I'm working him that night. Dude, he just started beating the hell out of me, like in the ring. He asked me what I wanted to do in the beginning. I said, oh, I can do this, I can do this. Cool, right? We go out there, I go to do it. He moves out of the way and just starts he's going into business for himself. So hey, he was trying to teach me a lesson or something. But me being who I was at that time, I started not selling anything. Got a little tiffy, if you get what I'm saying. Right when the match was over, put him over, I go in the back. We're in fist fighting in the back. Again, not the best situation, but it happened. Fast forward a couple of weeks later, I go down, I get a call from Jerry Land. He wants to talk to me. Go deep. We go into the meeting. Who's sitting right next to him? Alex the Bug Portel. Well, they had a long talk with me. Luckily, they gave me an opportunity because they saw something. So, yep, Garrett talked about it, some TNA basic work. I met a lot of these guys down. I worked a lot with them. Again, it was just such an honor and pleasure being in the ring with these guys, working all different styles. Because that's what great workers, great wrestlers do. You are a student of this game. It is your job to learn, ask questions, and then shut your mouth. It's that simple. That's how we were taught. Vastly different today from how it was, a little while ago. John, I could have sat over there for another 3 hours and heard these stories because I am just in amazement of everything you've gone and you've been through. And you said it. You had that dream and it came true, brother. Again, just amazing. So anyways, I'm back up here in Massachusetts. I fly back up. I'm living here. I'm working. All of a sudden, this guy's walking in Emerald Square Mall, and I see him. I'm like, hey, Chris. Hey, what are you doing back up here? Oh, I moved back up. Oh, I didn't know that. So anyway, we're just talking, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, I think you're with Paul Lazon at that time. Yep, I think it was Paul. If I'm wrong, if I'm right, I don't know. I was right, okay. And I remember we chatted, you left, you came back like an hour later, or you came back the next day. I can't remember what it was, but I remember you came up to me, Chris, and you blatantly said it. You said, we're starting a thing called SPW. Phil, we'd like you to be a part of the roster. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. This is brand new. There's some nights you may work in front of 2 people. It could be 50 people. It could be 300 people. We don't know. But you're going to be a part of something. If you want to be a part of this, then help build it. I thought it was an honor. I thought it was amazing. And I said, hell yeah, let's do it. So, Chris, I thank you for the opportunity. If you didn't found something in me, it was trust, it was a belief, and it was an opportunity, and I thank you for it. So, didn't stop there. What do? We had 3 training centers before the Woonsocket building. We were in Cumberland, 2, and then we were,
Street. Was it Lincoln?
was it like, and it was like in a woodworking building, right?
It was conduit fall line.
Yeah. So it's
a conduit.
Yep.
It smelled like paint every time.
Yes, it did.
I shit.
Yep. And that was,
Pen right in the middle of the ring too.
oh yeah, there was a giant, vet right in the middle there. I remember, hey, it didn't matter if there was obstacles in our way, if things didn't work out. We were always there working, training to get better, trying to attract talent, to train them. Again, we're in this business, we gotta pay it back. Chris, it's hard to put into words what I want to say, but there was something that you did by saying something in me that other people didn't see. They told you I was too small, this guy is not great on this, he's got a really bad attitude, and you saw something in me, and you kept that going and going. What did I do? I get smarter. I listened, I got more respectful, just what happens. Why? You get your ass kicked enough in the ring, you're going to start listening. And that's what started to happen. And honestly, I would never go back on that. I would not change one thing whatsoever. And Chris, what did we do? I was your first ever match in Showcase Pro Wrestling. I was your first ever Gauntlet for the Gold winner. I was your first ever SPW champion. I was your first ever SPW tag team champion. And I just have to say, thank you. And I remember that day we were in Attleboro. You had the final four guys. It was me, Jason Rumble, Frankie Vane, and you. And you told us to work out finishes with everyone to figure it out. And I remember you were in the corner, you were potatoing me. You weren't pipping me, you were potatoing me. And you're like, hey, by the way, you're going over, congratulations, don't mess it up, now throw me the hell out of this ring. You went around, you came back over, you went up, me and Jason finished the bit, and boom, that was it. And I will never forget that. And again, sir, I want to say thank you. I said 15 to 20, might be another 5 more minutes. I'm gonna get through faster, I promise. I'm going, I want to recognize some people here. Mr. Scott Levesque, where are you, my friend? Yeah, Scott! Hey, I used some AI this week, and what popped up under Nicholas Knight and Scott Levesque, it was over 30 matches. From PLW, from SPW tags and everything, man. But one of the best moments we had, if you remember, we were in Pawtucket, Rhode Island or somewhere. We were the last match for the PLW title. And what happened? It started downpouring. It was outside, it was downpouring. There was maybe 10 people left, and I think 5 of them were like friends and family. Scott, you and I went out there, like there was 30,000 people slipping around, not caring, and we still put on a show. Why? Because that's what we love to do, man, and that was one of the best moments I've ever had with you, and I want to say thank you. Cargill Vintage, Mr. Bobby Kennedy, where are you, sir? There you are, my man. The battles we had, the talks we've had, hours on the phone, psychology, BSing. Well, what if we do this? And I mean, we were planning this out for a week. We were planning this out. What if we did this for 6 months, right? That's how deep we were going with the storyline. Cause, effect, BSing, the Bears, going to shows together, man. But most importantly, those Monday nights when training first started, the stuff we were doing together, just learning, and the kids that we had that were just sponges, it was just so amazing. The battles, right, for the belt, the fireball, like, shot in the eye, almost got blinded, man. That was some of the best times, and Bobby, man, I thank you, I love you, and I respect the heck out of you, brother. Going to the story really quick. So, we're in Southbridge, Massachusetts. I'm playing the deep, I'm the bad heel, if you get what I'm saying. The guy that I was working that night, can't remember his name, but he was a local boy. Phoenix? Okay, it was Phoenix. It was a local boy. He did all his job, right? Plaster in the town, he had that place packed. And I mean, that place was packed. Mainly with his fans, so please hold on this story, okay? We call everything out, we do everything, we go in the back, we work. One of the spots towards the end was just a DDT. And with the DDT, what happened, Chris? Went to sleep, knocked out. He didn't take it right. Woo! Go to pick him up. Dead fish. I'm like, okay. So then I hop right on him. 1, 2, 3, finish it. You know, get the little symbol over there. Now people are looking like, oh, this is what's going on here. I'm getting booed. I'm getting yelled at. I'm getting friggin' death threats. Ooh, that enticed me. I went deeper into the role. And I mean, I started saying some nasty stuff that you wouldn't believe. Not as bad as some of the stuff you said, John. Okay? But said some nasty stuff out there. Well, let me rewind a little bit. Earlier, I was running late that night. I fly into the parking lot. I'm like, oh my God, there's a front row spot. Park in that front row spot. Please hold. Now let's fast forward. Stuff's going on. I'm getting booed. Like, Chris, like, you need to go out the side because there's people waiting for you over there. He's like, they are pissed. I'm like, bring it. Got this, right? Beating my chest. Cool. Go outside. Okay, go around. All of a sudden I come up. I'm like, what the hell is that? There's toilet paper on my car. I'm like, what the hell is that? Keyed my damn car with a chicken bone. Oh, Chris, how heated was I? Oh, I'm calling the cops. I'm saying I'm gonna take all you MFers on now. I am 6'7", 302 pounds. How I felt. Well, anyway, luckily, Chris calms me down. Don't know how he did. He had to do it a lot. He pulls me to the side. Chris, let me ask you a question. He goes, you just got 1980s, 1970s heat. Isn't this everything you work for? Oh. Up there for a second. He was absolutely right. Sorry, Kathy, he was right. Chris was right.
Never right.
But that lesson right there, again, taught me something in my career. That's what I was working for. Wasn't I an idiot that parked in the front row? Yes, I was. Lesson learned, I didn't do it again. But the heat that I got that night from that situation was amazing. But the lesson you gave me, again, Chris, will always stay with me. And I thank you so much. So going a little deeper with the SPW birthday parties. Chris, you had the concept, you had the idea. Let's do birthday parties here. Let's get little, kids to come in, do their thing. They can come out, do an entrance. We could show them how to run the ropes a little bit. Then we'll have the bad guys come in and we can do a little basic match, right? Well, that's what we did. And I never forgot the first time you did that. I remember the guy's name, Mark, and it was his son. I can't remember the kid's name, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. But we did it. And I remember we were going up to all the kids asking them what music they wanted to come out of. And that one guy says The Rock, that guy says this guy said this, but the birthday boy comes over and says, "Excuse me, Nick?" And I was like, "Yeah, buddy?" And he's like, "I want to use your music. You're my favorite." That hit me hard. And I was like, absolutely. And then I asked him, like, can I come out with you? Can I be your manager? All the other kids were so jealous, man. Let me tell you, when we came out, my music hit, he went out. He was loving life. You could see he was in front of 100,000 people at Wynn at Stadium, right? He was at the Garden in front of 30,000 people. That was his moment in his time. And that just hit me so much that day and has always stuck with me to this day. So Chris, again, I want to thank you for these opportunities. Thank you for allowing me to be in that type of atmosphere, to really touch and be with these kids on their journey for their birthday, celebrating it, and just allowing to be a part of that awesome day. Thank you again, brother. I really wanted to thank what he was thinking about, how happy, how sad he was. It's kind of full circle. If I think about myself as that 12, 13-year-old boy sitting in front of the TV with my legs crossed, watching Shawn Michaels wrestle Bret Hart in the Iron Man match. Think about that and hold on to that. So, as I wind down when it comes to this, 30 years ago, I was just a kid watching Shawn Michaels. And it felt everything. I didn't want to become Shawn Michaels. But I knew that that was something I need to aspire to be, because I thought he was the best. And how I think about this and how I think about what really matters the most, it's not the championships, it was the road trips. It was those moments with the boys, because that's connection can never, ever truly be broken. And when I think about these connections, I need to thank my family first. My 6 sisters. Wow. Again. Well, thank you. Giving me the TV, allowing me to come up, 7, 8, 9 years old, punch you in the leg, punch you in the head, mess with you. Now my youngest sister, Allison, I feel she took the beating more than anything. She got more razor edges than I don't even know who have. But it was just amazing. I want to thank you and thank them. And then I have to thank my wife. Number one, one of these first dates, Did we go out to a movie? Did we go out to this? No. We went to Everett at the rec center and I brought her to a wrestling show. I said, hey, by the way, I wrestle. We had no idea what she was getting into. Well, luckily that was a good match or something will happen that night. But 20 years plus later, I can't thank you. I love you. You are everything to me. My boy Jacob. Let me tell you, I learned a valuable wrestling lesson when you were about 5 years old. We were in Newbury on the beach. We did a giant battle royal, Chris. I don't know if you remember this, but I used to come up with a chain around my neck. And I remember they were in the front, sitting right there, and can't remember what guy it was, but we were in the corner doing a little spot. I'm like, hey, put me in front of my kid and choke the hell out of me. Grab my neck, choke the chain, and choke the heck out of me. So I'm like, I want to get a reaction. So I'll work our way over, boom, starts doing it. He's choking me, I'm selling, my eyes are big, I'm coughing. He starts bawling, crying, screaming, stop hurting my Philly. I heard him say it. And that stuck with me so much because I was really trying to project so much on you. I didn't realize the pain that I caused you that day. But then at the same time, I was so proud of myself for causing him the pain of that day. But Jacob gave up a lot of stuff, for me going to shows Fridays, Saturdays, where you didn't get to spend with your friends, in your younger years. And I just want to say thank you, and I love you, and thank you for being here. All right, that's my last page. So, I want to take a second, and I want to remember some friends we lost along the way. First up is Mr. Anthony Rufo. Next is Mr. Biggs. If anyone knows who he is. Mr. Nick Steele. These guys were really big in my life. I worked for Mr. Biggs for a short period of time down at IIW. I remember I had a tag team partner. His name was Dirk the Package Johnson. There's like a whole stripper gimmick, and I remember we were so young into the business. Can't remember. He comes over, he's like, hey, put the titles on you two. What were the two huge guys, Richie, Chris, that were like muscle head shaved, big time? They worked for Ricard and Steve Powerhouse. Yeah. Those were the two guys we had to work that night, and we agreed, and they had to put us over. Sorry, it was. We got beat, we got killed, but they put us over, and it was great. And we looked at each other, and I was like, what just happened here? And he goes, and I remember TJ Richter was there, and he came over to me, and he goes, if you want to know what just happened there, he goes, he put trust in you. He sees something in you guys. Take it, run with it. Don't be dicks. Take it and run with it. And it was a lesson that, I thought was amazing from TJ. But those three guys, especially Anthony, man, his patience, his tutelage, his kindness, his heart. Because once you broke down all the tough stuff, he was a gentle giant, man. And he was so amazing, and he was just so influential in my career. And again, Anthony, we miss you, brother. All right, so most importantly, we did it. The fans kept on coming back. That was the main objective for us as workers. Our job is to put ass in seats. I didn't know that early in my career. It took me time to learn that. And Chris, throughout that time, that's what we did. You helped me get better. We had the talks. You told me what was working, what wasn't working. Go talk to these guys. Go do this. Hey, have you ever watched one of your matches? Not really. Well, how about you start watching them all, right? You really sat me down and said, these are the things that you need to do. And you were just along this journey with me today. And it's coming full cycle because, Chris, if you remember, my first wrestling match was with you, sir. Barton Street Gym. Fast forward, I don't know how many months, but it was a tag team match. And it was me and Tiny the Terrible. Hey, I was happy I was a foot taller than the guy, so. And it was you, and I don't remember who you were working. Do you remember who you were with, who your partner was?
Jason. I think it was Jason.
Jason? Okay. Don't remember who it was, but I remember I was in the ring with you, you body slammed me, you dropped me down, and then all of a sudden Tiny comes running in, and you're supposed to pick him up and body slam him over me. Well, Chris, how heavy was Tiny?
That was a heavy ass.
Yeah, that was a heavy ass. You want to know what Chris did? He goes to pick him up, and then he drops him directly on my face. Then he gets down, and he gets right next to my ear, and he goes, "Welcome to pro wrestling, kid." Never forget that moment. Never forget that moment. Again, Chris, it's full circle. So, to the young wrestlers in the back, there's my wisdom. Don't be the next Shawn Michaels. Don't be the next Nicholas Knight. Be the first you. Because no one can take that away from you. I was just a kid who cried watching Shawn Michaels win a championship as a boy. Tonight, I get to be someone else's reason. My name is the first Nicholas Knight, and after 20 years of blood, sweat, friendships, brotherhood, I lived this dream, and I thank you.
But I feel like if I do it, Kathy will murder me. So let's just wrap this up. On behalf of all the inductees, all of us here at Showcase Pro Wrestling, thank you for joining us for our inaugural Hall of Fame ceremony. Good night and drive safe. We'll see you at March Anniversary 19 tomorrow night.
You can be the greatest, you can be the best. You can be the King Kong banging on your chest.
You can beat the world, you can beat the war. You can talk to God, go banging on his door.
You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock. You can move a mountain, you can break rocks.
You can be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you gon' find yourself
standing in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the world